Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First item on the agenda is approval of minutes. We have minutes from March 15th, 22, June 20th, 23, and July 18th, 23.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the minutes of March 15th, 2022, June 20th, 2023, and July 18th, 2023.
Do we have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. How do we know? Is that,
She eyed.
she did. So we have one of our members is remote, so she just voted in the affirmative. Okay, moving on to, do we have any bills?
No.
Okay, moving on to meetings and hearings. Our first item is a new public meeting.
Do you want to do the continuances?
Oh, yeah, we have several that are continued. Let's go to those first. Lot, let me see, 36 Sewell Street, Lot 1, 36 Sewell Street, Lot 2, 36 Sewell Street, Lot 3, and 36 Sewell Street, Lot 4. They are all continued to our next meeting, which is
October 17th.
October 17th. And one other meeting, it's 195 Gulf Street is also continued to that time as well. Okay. We have a new public meeting regarding.
Yes. Would you like me to read the minute, or the notice?
Sure.
Okay. Here we go. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that David Munch, 11 Francis Avenue, Shrewsbury, has filed a request for determination of applicability for the construction of a bog bridge at Lake Street Park, 1S Blue Trail.
Is anybody here for that hearing?
Yes, you can come up and sit at the desk.
Are these handed out?
Yes, they are.
Hi there. Can you just state your name and what you're doing?
Yes, hello. I am David Munch. I am an Eagle Scout candidate with Troop 114 here in Shrewsbury, and I'm here tonight to seek approval to build a bog bridge on a trail in Lake Street Park for my Eagle Scout project.
Okay. What is this bridge going to be constructed out of? And
Just lumber. Like, I'm sorry. Could you specify?
okay. And are you going to be doing any filling, or how is it going to be situated on the ground? Is it
So
supported?
the way it's going to be situated on the ground is that there'll be, we'll dig out a little bit of dirt, fill in that hole with a bit of gravel, and then there'll be a solid concrete deck block on top of that, and then the wood will be situated on top of the deck block.
Okay. All right. Martha, do you have any questions?
Could you tell us, I apologize, I couldn't figure out from your map where the bridge is going to go, and I know the trail's a little bit down there, but I'm just curious, can you describe a little bit more where it's going and how long it's going to be?
So the bridge is going to be approximately 60 feet long just to cover the area. It's just going to run right along an area of muddy trail on the blue trail. And that, the blue trail just runs, I'm not exactly sure which direction, but it runs a bit off to the side of the fields, the lacrosse fields that they have there at the park.
So it's down by the stream,
Yes.
which is why it's muddy, but you're not trying to cross the stream?
No.
Okay, all right, that's where I was getting mixed up. Great, thank you. Are you going to be using, what kind of lumber are you going to be using? Pressure treated or something else?
It doesn't particularly matter to me which kind I use. I don't know. Do you have suggestions that would like make this be like would like make it pass easier? Or would it doesn't matter? Or
Thank you for asking. I would want to know that the lumber, it would be great if it were sustainably sourced. And it would be great if, and I understand, Ken, maybe you can help with how lumber is treated these days. It used to be that pressure-treated lumber contained arsenic to keep it
Yes,
from decaying. And I understand that pressure-treating lumber is no longer uses the toxins that it used to be. But I think we would love to be reassured that the lumber that you're using is going to be safe for the environment there and for people who might be using it.
Okay.
No questions.
Okay, Diane?
No, I had the same question about the lumber and whether or not it is pressure treated and if there are any toxins in there that might leach into the water. So my question is the same. I would also like to know that the lumber is safe for wetlands. Thanks.
Okay. David, are you going to have any help with this? I mean, that's quite a long bridge you're going to be making
yeah, I'm gonna
there.
have some help from the people from my troop to help out with that.
Okay, all right,
May I ask another question?
absolutely.
When are you planning to do this work?
I'm either planning, depending on how fast I can get things approved, I'm planning to do it sometime later this fall or in the spring.
Okay, so you have a little bit of time to carry it out. You're not really under the gun. I know how Eagle Scout projects work. I think it's a great project. I know that trail needs some help, and I know that a lot of people use it. So I really appreciate the effort that you're taking to make it better.
Yeah, thank you.
Any questions from the audience? Any questions from staff?
No, I think just following up on the wood, maybe just, when you buy it, if you can just get
Yeah.
us a copy of, we would call it the
Yeah.
specifications, so we can just double check it. So
Yes, of course.
you just email that to us. That would be my only recommendation.
Yeah, I would recommend, you could add a special condition that.
Okay. I commend you on your efforts, and I wish you well, and we can close this.
Yeah, thank you.
We will take a vote on it now. Would anybody like to make a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we issue a negative determination of applicability for this bog bridge to be installed at Lake Street Park.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Negative's good.
So you're good, you're good to go.
It's counterintuitive. So.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Well, thank you, we wish you the best of luck.
All right, thank
So
you.
I will send out your determination in the next couple of days, and then you will be all set on conservation end to begin your project. And you can move to the next step of whatever other permitting you need.
Okay, thank you.
Let me know when you're ready.
We're ready.
Okay. We have a new public hearing. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that Joe Miller, 52 South Quinsigamond Avenue, Shrewsbury, Mass., has filed a request for determination of applicability for the removal of 2 trees within the buffer zone at 52 South Quinsigamond Avenue.
He will be joining us virtually this evening, so he
Okay.
should be
Okay,
able to unmute himself. Let me confirm that. Oh, he is still muted. Now it won't let me.
Bear with us, we're just trying to get
Haven't done this in a while.
the person that's remote up and running.
Can he call in?
Maybe we'll scooch along. We cannot unmute.
Did we
Yes,
read the
let us
notice?
move to the next
Yeah.
one, and I will have him join by phone.
It's been so long since.
If you want to move to the next one, we'll just have him call in.
We want to move on?
Yeah, oh, hang on, someone just pinged.
This is not the same person, though, so.
Oh, okay. So yes, let's move on.
Okay, so.
All right, so-
we'll-
We'll move on to the next meeting while we're working out the issues.
Okay. That is also a new public meeting. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of general laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that Jim Ricciardi, P.O. Box 777, Boylston, Mass. 01505, has filed a request for determination of applicability for the repair of a retaining wall at 32 East Lake Road.
Is there anyone here representing Mr. Ricciardi?
Thank you.
I don't see it.
No.
We're gonna just book right through this
That'd be a short
meeting.
night.
Okay. We'll just keep this open and see if someone shows up
Sounds
to the
good.
end.
John might have been, Mr. John Grenier might have been representing him, but he's not here.
Okay.
Obviously, so.
All right, so on to the next one for now. We have a continued public hearing for abbreviated notice of intent filed by Fuson Lee for the construction of a patio area at 54 Cherry Street.
For this project, we had asked that it was not necessary that he come in this month. All he was waiting on was the DEP file number, and he has received it. They had no comments.
Okay, so we need to vote on this, correct? Correct. We have a motion to approve a notice for 54 Cherry Street?
We'll close the public hearing first.
Oh,
Yeah.
need to close it. All right, so the meeting is closed.
I believe my mic is working now.
We'll go on to the, we'll vote on that later. All right, so he's back?
Yep.
All right, so we'll go back to the RDA at 52 South Quinsigamon Ave.
Thank you kindly. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. My name is Bernie Gothier with B&R Tree Service Company. I have filed this paperwork on behalf of Joe Miller for Maranis Banquet Facilities. I'm not sure if Leah has a picture of the trees that were in question, or if the description is there somewhere.
Yes, we do have one. The commissioners do have one, but I can pull it up on the screen as well.
It shows there are 5 trees labeled, and some have X's and some have circles. And some have nothing.
The trees in question here are number 4, which the reason the facility wants to take that tree down is it's hanging over the air handler just to the right, and it's dropping branches down on top of that air handler. The circled area with no number is a large decaying poplar tree, which is recently in a storm dropped a pretty big limb, and the tree's leaning toward the neighbor's house to the right. So we were asking to take down those two trees because they're in the buffer zone. Number 5 is not in question at all. And 1, 2, and 3 are outside the 100-foot buffer zone. So all we're looking for is that number 4 and the circled non-numbered tree. I had shown those trees to Leah, and they're what would we call it? Their condition as of today, being a poplar tree and very old, they're not doing very well.
Okay. Is that it?
Yeah, it was pretty straightforward.
Okay. Do we have any questions on Martha?
I just want to ask, is number 4 also a poplar tree? That's the air handler.
That is a poplar tree, yes.
Okay,
Yeah, it's right up against the building.
yeah.
All set?
Mhm.
Jason?
No questions.
Diane?
No questions.
Anybody in the audience?
Well, actually, if I can go back for a second. Yes, are you considering planting new trees or shrubs in the place of what's coming down? And if so, would you keep them lower so that they don't become the same kind of problem?
Wow, that's really good, thoughtful. I'm glad you're on the same page with that. I did suggest to the facility to plant some blueberry bushes. There's low-growing blueberry bushes which stabilize the soil really well. There's your typical blueberry bush, it gets about 4 or 5 feet high, which is great for the birds. But if you have an idea on quantity, I can make that suggestion to the facility and we can make that happen. I did mention to them that you would probably have a formula on about how many square feet of blueberry bushes we could put in.
Blueberries are wonderful. They're a native plant, and you're right, they're great for butterflies, they're great for pollinators, they're great for the soil. They're great. They're wonderful for the birds. I actually don't know the formula for that. Maybe someone else here does, but I don't.
That's okay. I work all the way out toward Wellesley and from Sturbridge to Wellesley, we've been running the Mass Pike for years, and some towns do have a formula, some don't. If you want, I can pull something together from some previous jobs that we had done and come up with some sort of a calculation. Could that be a secondary thing? Because Joe's really anxious to get the trees down. And I could have a formula together for you by the end of this week and see if that's acceptable.
I don't know anything about that, but it's personally, that's fine by me.
Okay.
I would think that we could condition it on planting blueberries and then the number to be determined by a certain date.
That would be great.
Okay, any questions from the audience? Okay, there being none, we can close this. Martha, would you like to make a motion?
Is this an RDA?
It is.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we issue a negative determination of applicability for the removal of 2 trees within the buffer zone at 52 South Quinsigamond Avenue, conditioned upon, is it time to add conditions? Okay. Conditioned upon replanting with a number of blueberry plants to be specified at a somewhat later date, or equivalent to other native shrub.
Second.
Okay, all there in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, so will Leah get back to me with a date for the calculations and then what we're saying? Because I don't understand the language. does that mean we can move forward with the tree removal?
Yes.
Yes.
As soon as you receive your determination,
Okay,
if you would like to either come pick that up or I will mail it to the facility. And as soon as you get that, you are ready to rock.
all right. I'm probably gonna come pick it up because Joe Miller is calling me every day.
Sure. So it should be ready by end of day tomorrow.
That sounds great. Thank you very kindly for all your help. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Okay, so we're going to go on to our next hearing, continued public hearing for amended order of conditions filed by Hugo and Miriam Lima, 27 Bayview Drive, for the construction of retaining walls, patio area, deck, fences, and removal of trees at 27 Bayview Drive.
Oh, that would be great. I'll just let you give out. I'm not sure if I have the most up to date.
Ah,
Okay, state your name and,
Jason Dubois, DC Engineering and Survey out of Charlton.
all right,
So the last meeting we had about a month or so ago, we were still waiting on input back from Natural Heritage, which we have gotten. Their letter stated no additional take for this proposal. I know the commission was looking for some additional details, which we have provided on the retaining wall. Also some grading where it's adjacent to the property lines, which we did show some contours there. Top of wall elevations. We showed the plantings, proposed plantings to be planted, basically pulled some trees and, smaller trees and shrubs from the list that was provided to us. I think that was pretty much it from the last hearing.
okay, Martha?
Looks like you are replacing a wooded area with loam and seed. What are you going to be seeding with?
Just a grass mixture,
Okay.
yeah.
Would you, and you have some bushes or trees to the side in part to define the property line, it looks like?
Yeah, we added some trees along the edges and down by the water. There is a note on the left side of the property that kind of specifies a few different types of trees
Okay,
and shrubs.
I saw that. All right, thank you.
Diane?
So, with the removal of the smaller trees and shrubs, from where I am, I can't see what everybody else is looking at. So you're replacing a wooded area with some grass. Are there any shrubs, maybe native shrubs, that you could put in the place of the grass?
Yeah, we did propose that. So basically between the tiers of the wall, it'll be, graded slope just enough for the water to run off, but those areas will be grassed. And then we did add shrubs down at the lower tier, as well as some trees along the sides as well. So it's not, it is a wooded area, but it's not a thick wooded area. There was just some large standing trees along the slope.
Okay.
I believe
Thank you.
there was 8 total.
May I ask another question?
Sure.
Mr. Chair? At the edge of the lake, where you have the wall, does the wall come above the soiled area? Is it higher than the lawn?
Yes, it would probably be slightly higher than the lawn.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. I would like to ask the chair, is it good practice to have some vegetation up against that wall? Or,
A lot of the walls on the lake do have vegetation against them, some sort of grass or flowers, not necessarily large trees, but they have grasses
Right.
and shrubs and certain things like that.
what I'm trying to get at is if there's any chemicals, for example, or erosion that happens here, how do we stop it from getting into the lake? And I know that natural systems are a good tool to use for that. So I'm wondering about advocating for a low planting of shrubs up against that wall. Something that wouldn't interfere with the visual that I'm sure you're trying to get at, but would just help hold things back from getting in the lake a little bit more.
I mean, you can speak. I think the intent is to make it look nice with some shrubs and flowers and things
Yeah.
like that. I don't know if there's a 100% plan in place yet, to how that's gonna be landscaped, but, it will be raised slightly above the grade. The house side will have, grass with landscape plantings and things like that.
Okay. I think I'm just advocating for a few more shrubs along the lake shore and not just the side of the property.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. You all set?
Mm-hmm.
Jason?
No, I would echo what Martha is suggesting.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
Something up against there for some natural filtration, plus it'd probably look a little nicer going up against the wall.
Okay, when are you going to do you want to build these walls? During drawdown?
Pretty much, yeah. When the winter comes.
And you'll be getting a building permit for them?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Staff, anything?
I just want to clarify, so there's no steps or anything in these walls? They go right across?
I believe there's a step in the
'Cause
the middle tier.
The middle.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, okay, I didn't see it. All right, so I was just wondering how you get down to maintain it if it's no steps. Okay, I just didn't see it very well. Okay, that was the only question I had.
Leah?
I just want to clarify that the list of trees, or list of plants that he's choosing from is the Shrewsbury Tree Guidelines that is composed of all native species, so and they should all be habitat beneficial, so they're not just decorative, solely decorative plants.
Okay.
And yeah, if you are going to add some more shrubbery along the lowest retaining wall, there should be a couple options on there.
Okay.
Okay. All set?
Yep.
Anybody in the audience have any questions? Okay, if not, we can close this hearing. Okay. All right, you're all set.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
It will be for them, yes.
All right. We have a continued public hearing regarding notice of intent filed with Kristen and Jeremy Ahern at 236 Gulf Street for the construction of a bond tractor pathway on area at 236 Gulf Street.
Yeah, hi, good evening, thank you. Again, I'm Paul Chisholm, I'm an engineer with Keach Nordstrom Associates, joined tonight by Jeremy Ahern, who is the property owner. We were here about 2 months ago, at that time introducing the project, as well as awaiting a DEP file number. We have since received that file number. DEP also issued a couple comments, mainly relating to setbacks and flood areas. Apparently, looking at FEMA maps, the lot is basically classified in a Zone A area, but there has been a recent study that was approved that actually defined flood elevation, so we were able to more accurately delineate that flood zone on the property, which is reflected on the plan. And also we're able to basically better detail a couple things that you folks had some questions about. The first being the cobblestone paver, and so we have updated the width on that. There's a small detail in the bottom right-hand side of the sheet. And then along with that, I also have a picture to kind of, an engineering drawing is great and everything, but a picture I think kind of, oh, yep, perfect. I do have paper copies if anybody would like any, but basically the picture on the screen that you see there's really kind of the aesthetic that they're going for. In addition, there was some question about how far over we were moving the rock wall that exists. And again, this is kind of like stacked boulders and things like that. That's the style. I do have, I believe it's this one as well. Yeah, perfect. So, obviously it varies. You can see that basically on the very north end of the property, we're pushing it out about 24 feet. The narrowest point is about 12 and a half, and then 18 and a half at the kind of southeast corner of that. Beyond that, there was just some other small things that we did, like update some of the notes to reference the flood study and things like that on the plan, but more or less it's unchanged from what you saw before. So with that, if you have any questions for myself or Jeremy, we'd be happy to answer them.
Okay. Martha?
I'm all set.
Diane?
I really like the cobble pavers. They look great, and they're a good idea. I guess I still am bothered by the fact that the barn is partly over the line. I'm not sure exactly where to go with that, but yeah. So, I mean, the more that we push it with wetlands, the more later on we'll have problems with things like flooding or with loss of biodiversity. And so I just want to make a statement about that.
Okay. You all set?
Yes.
Jason?
I'm all set, no questions.
Staff?
I'm all set.
No, I just want to thank you for answering our questions and concerns regarding the paths and doing what you could to address the elevations. I appreciate your time and efforts. Anybody in the audience have any questions? Okay, I guess we can close the hearing. All set.
Thank you.
High Street.
Okay. All right, you ready? All right.
Sewell's?
Guys ready?
Yep.
We have a continued hearing regarding notice of intent filed with Modish Nest LLC for 38 Appaloosa Drive for the construction of a single-family home and associated site work at 1 High Street. Is there anybody here for that?
Thank you.
1 High Street? 1 High Street?
Oh, that's me.
Yeah. Come on.
Like a list of people that continued on us. That's a good place to go.
John, before we get into it, were you also going to do the presentation for the RDA on 32
Yes.
East Lake? Okay.
For Jimmy.
So we'll
Yeah.
scooch back to that
Sure.
after this.
You have he sent in pictures. There was a couple of trees, or two trees that went down?
Just one.
One that went down and the other one that kind of needed to get cut. So
Okay.
he got an emergency order that,
Yeah, we can go back to that in a minute. We'll stick to this.
oh, you want to stick
now
to
that-
this first?
Yeah, I
Okay,
just
all right,
wanted to
that's fine.
confirm that you were going to do it and whether or not I should continue it to the next
Oh, no, don't continue.
October.
Okay, so this is for new house construction at 42 High Street. At our last meeting, we received comments from your agent, looking for some additional information, which right now shows what I have in front on, which is sheet 1 of 2, is the existing conditions plan, which what we marked on here are, there's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 trees that would be cut in association with this project. The majority of them are rather large pine trees, not much understory. They're white pines. They drop a lot of their branches. They're nothing that you would want next to your house if it was new construction. There is one older cedar tree that's kind of at the end of the existing driveway, and is proposed to come down too. That would be right in the middle of where the house is. We did look at modifying, reducing the house, as I had mentioned at our last meeting. We had discussed with the house designer and my client trying to narrow up the house as much as possible. And just for the layout of the house, they went with a smaller footprint. We narrowed it up as much as we could. The closest point that we are to the wetland, there is really one flag. It's wetland flag 3 that kind of juts into the site a little more than the others. And that's the closest point to the wetland, and that's closest to the front corner of the garage, and that's 22 feet. So I know that the concern of the commission is making sure that down the road people don't expand their yards, start creeping in towards the wetland. So in trying to address that issue, originally, you may recall, there was a patio on this inside corner, which naturally, if there's a patio there, someone might try to expand the yard, do a fire pit, do some more recreation, expand their patio. So what we are proposing is we're going to take the patio, which was closer to the wetland, we're flipping it to the other side of the house, so it's further away from the wetland. So that's really the usable part of the lot, less apt for people to, if they're going to expand, they would expand where their existing patio is. That's where they'll have, sliding glass doors going out to the patio. And then to further try to deter people from expanding their yards down the road is we're proposing a mix of split rail fence that would go basically from where we have a little recharge area for the driveway runoff, which is closer to the frontage, down the whole left side of the lot, and then turning and going along the limit of work past the back or that side yard of the house. So we have a split rail fence along there, and then along that split rail fence, we would also place boulders on the other side of the fence. So again, to deter people from expanding their yards, they would have to get heavy equipment in there if they were to try to move any of those boulders. And then, in addition to that, beyond that, it's overgrown lawn now, but that was adjacent to the wetlands, that was yard area. What we're proposing to do is introduce staggered high bush blueberry bushes in there, so that along the edge of the wetlands, it'll promote getting some kind of vegetation in there, something that will grow. We will have any overflow from our runoff going in there. So it's along the perimeter or the edge of the wetlands, we're proposing to add some more wetland-friendly vegetation and bush in there, so that would go more natural. So what we're trying to do is meet the intent or the intent of the regulation, which is to keep people from expanding the yards, filling wetlands, expanding the yards towards the wetlands. So we're trying to keep all of the usable space on the right side of the house and deter anybody from doing anything in the future along the buffer zone of the wetlands on the left side of the house. Other than that, you know, recharging all of our roof runoff, treating and recharging all of our driveway runoff, and any of the stockpile and staging areas, those are furthest away from the wetland during construction. So the usual things that we do with our proposals for development of single-family houses. So with that, if there's any questions or comments, we'd like to try to address them.
Martha?
John, I appreciate moving the patio to the other side of the house. I think that, as you suggest, does cut down on the temptation to extend the lawn.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still seeing that corner of the house that's inside the 30-foot buffer zone. And we had talked last time about whether the lot lines were actually set or whether they could be
And-
flexed a little bit. What was the outcome of that?
The house that, that would be on, let me get back to, I can show you. There's an existing house that rides kind of along the what's now the interior property line between the two lots. The width of the lot, because it's a triangular shaped lot, everything, it necks down, so it starts to squeeze you. So the footprint, we looked at different footprints for what could be next door, because in this zone, you need 50-foot front yard setback, which pushes the house further back into the triangle, and you need 30-foot side yard setbacks. So we went with a very similar, looking at down the road, what could be built. We went with a similar house footprint to this. So we kept it narrow, but once you go, 30 feet side yard setback, a narrow house, 30-foot side yard setback, 30-foot side yard setback, everything's pinched in as much as we possibly can, which that's why we ended up with the 22-foot at the corner of the garage, which, again, that's why we said, okay, to meet the intent of the purpose of keeping the separation, what can we do to keep all the activity away from the wetland, and that's why we went with the flipping. So we looked at what could potentially be built on the other lot, and we went with a similarly narrow house footprint for that as well. So we're trying to do the best we can and meet zoning, meet conservation, meet everything, and trying to, again, meet the intent of the regulations.
Okay. Thank you. I'm set again.
Diane?
I can see how hard you're trying, which is really great. And I think putting the patio on the other side is an excellent idea. The blueberry bushes, the split rail fence, the boulders, all of that, very good. It is a shame that the garage is as close as it is. But I'm not sure that you could have a garage and avoid that problem. I don't think. Is there a way to do that?
Well, and not have something that's marketable.
Right. Okay, so I guess I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Okay, Jason?
Yeah, I mean, to that point, John, I know in the last hearing we talked about maybe reducing this from a 2-car garage to an oversized 1-car.
And
To get out of,
right, it could have. They wanted a 2-car garage, and you might save a couple of feet, but you'd still be within the 30. So it wouldn't really be. Would you be a little further away? But at that point, what are you solving? We said, all right, again, let's keep the usable part, keep the patio over there. If someone's going to expand a patio, put in a fire pit, it's on the other side. And then we said, okay, let's try to armor this side as best we can to keep people out. So we focused on adding things to try to solve the problem, whether it's 22 feet or 25 feet, is that gonna solve the problem? Or is lining it with boulders and putting physical barriers there? I'd rather spend my money on giving a physical barrier than just saving a couple of feet.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with it, and I do appreciate you moving everything to the
Yeah.
right side of the lot. I think, to me, it's not a minor encroachment, right? It's not like a foot or two. You're talking about 8 feet
Correct. And
within.
to go to a one car, or it would be, you know, a larger, say 16 foot, you'd save, you know, maybe 3 or 4 feet. But it still wouldn't prevent people from, I'd rather spend the money on the fencing and the plantings and spending money to create something so people don't expand their yard rather than, and at the end of the day, everybody wants a 2-car garage, you know?
This is what I said in the first
Yeah.
hearing.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I
So,
don't
there's the
disagree.
reality of it. I'm not gonna try to sugarcoat it. That's the reality of it. People want a 2-car garage.
Right.
I get it.
And I do too. I just feel, you know, I understand it's a difficult lot to build on, and then you're splitting it, and you're somewhat, not you, but I mean, it's somewhat causing a cycle effect of problems, right? You're trying to slam in 2 houses into very confined area. And, yeah, okay, if it went down a 1-car garage, maybe you're only 1 foot in, encroaching on the 30-foot buffer zone, but right now we're 8. And I
Right.
understand where you're doing a ton. I'm not,
Right.
I appreciate
Right.
that. I just, it's like you're really slamming these things in to a very, very confined area. And I think the encroachment is a big question in my mind on that side. But that's all I have.
Okay, so again, I think we talked about this last meeting. You created this lot. This is a new lot.
This was created, correct.
Correct, so you're creating your hardship. You are.
Well,
So, I mean,
I won't disagree.
in creating the lot, you should have taken into consideration the size of the house that you could fit in here, where you could meet a 30-foot setback. I mean, I don't think that's too much to ask.
Yeah, and I understand what you're saying, and we worked with something that, you know, it's not oversized for the neighborhood. We tried to go with a house design that was as narrow as we could, but still meet, you know, what people want in a new home. So I understand your point of view, and so we're trying to walk the line of, okay, what can we do to meet your needs, and what can we do to try to meet the Conservation Commission's, you know, goals? And so this is what we looked at as a middle ground. Let's try to make something build something that is functional for the new homeowners, and try to do what we can to armor along the wetland side so that we're helping to meet the intent of the regulations.
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question?
Sure, absolutely.
Just, I don't want to beat this, but why not just keep one lot intact? Why not, why are we splitting and slamming in 2 houses? Profitability?
I'm not gonna say anything.
I mean, seriously, I mean, it's one lot
obviously, the
now.
economics of it
Yeah,
does.
I mean, there's one lot now with one
Right, and
house.
2 lots, I mean, with lots in Shrewsbury valued at,
Yeah.
you know, $350,000, you know, if you can get a second lot, obviously you're gonna get a second lot.
And I think but I mean, to Ken's point, I mean, it's creating the hardship.
Understood. And so, again, we're trying to walk the line of, okay, we're trying to build a house that's, you know, middle of the road size-wise. It's not a huge footprint. It'll be functional. It'll be, you know, a valuable home. But try to make sure that we armor that buffer zone as best we can. So we're trying to, again, ride the middle.
I'm all set, thank you.
Can we ask you to extend the plantings of the high bush blueberries all the way down to the end of where your proposed fence and boulder line is going to go?
Absolutely. And I'll beef it up even, I think we have 9. We have 9 total?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll beef it up and bring it all the way to the end of the fence, and I'll even take it down to the turn. See where the erosion control bends? We'll take it all the way down there. So basically from where it says 15-foot wetland buffer, right there, and kind of adjacent to wetland flag number 8. We'll take
Okay.
it
Why
even
don't we just-
beyond, I want to say even beyond the fence and bring it all the way down that whole,
Why don't we say wetland flag 8 as a reference, so
Yes.
we have something that we can use, it's easier
Yes.
for the,
and if we're gonna go that, we'll end up, we'll double the plant count.
okay. Is that okay? Any questions from the audience on this? Yes, come forward, state your name, please.
Alan Bushy of 14 High Street. Just for clarification, has the lot division been approved?
Yes.
Okay. And I am in general hearing from this board that that was a bad idea. Can this board say no?
I think it's a conforming lot, so I don't think we can say no.
Yeah,
I don't think we have the power to.
We don't have the power to disagree with this being separate lots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a planning board issue.
All right. So,
Zoning board.
all right, that's it.
Thank you.
Peter Gray at 26 High Street for my father, Don Gray. I don't have his new plan, I'm just going off of his old plan. And since the house is in the wetlands, in the garage part, I guess, assuming. So is on mine it says proposed house, it says sill, I think that's a sill height of 490, is that what that is?
Yes.
Okay, so on the plan also that I got from the town, the wetlands where the pond is 400, oh boy, I got it written on another piece of paper so I can read it better. Here we go. So the bottom of the pond is 482.7, which is almost 483. So the proposed top of the sill of the house is at 490. How high is the cellar going to be? Do you have an 8-foot cellar, a 7-foot cellar, 9-foot cellar?
It would be an 8-foot.
Okay, so that gets you down to, so 482 feet then basically is where the base of the basement is what you're saying. So right now, the pond water from the rain the other day is at least 30 to 36 inches high. So that brings us up to 485. So approximately at this point, you would have 3 foot 4 inches of water in the basement, being only just off of the wetlands, basically. My aunt has lived in the house that is there now for almost 60 years. Her house is about 2 feet higher, I believe. It could be a little higher. I don't know how that works totally. And when her pump goes down or power goes out, she ends up with 4 inches of water in the basement. So she's lived with this all her life. So at this point, you're building a house lower than that into the wetlands, which now should probably end up, if the power goes out or pump goes out, they'll end up with 3 to 4 feet of water in the basement, at least once or twice a year. I'm the one that takes care of her pump from time to time, or actually all the time. And that's how I know that we have the severe water problem there. So getting lower into this wetlands is going to make it 10 times worse. So the poor guy who buys this house and power goes down is going to be in a lot of water problems. And there was a water problem with the house that is there now. And the garage, between the garage and the basement, They've already cut the wall up about 14 to 16 inches, maybe even higher, because of the water problem in their basement all the time while they were kids and we were kids, because we used to skate on the pond that's there now. So it's more or less the grade height, and they're creating the problem, and they're recreating a bigger problem with the water that is already there now in the basement. That's all I guess I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter. Anybody else in the audience have anything else to add?
Cynthia Bushy, 14 High Street as well. I don't really have questions, but I just can't stay silent. What I'm hearing from the board and what I'm hearing from the presentation is that intentionally an LLC purchased a single-family home on a lot that supports that home and intentionally has navigated the system in the town to go through all of the parts necessary to create 2 lots out of 1 and build on both of those and create their own hardship and refuse to put a single car garage in a place where that's how they could minimize the impacts that they're making. And for me, this is problematic in this town, and I am not understanding how the commissions, who each of you have certain restrictions, power to make certain decisions, and other facets of the town have their right to make decisions about other pieces of the project. And there is nothing in place for representatives from each of those areas to come together when a project is proposed to say what are the impacts of all of the proposed decisions, so that those decisions are made in concert with one another.
So, unfortunately, this lot meets current zoning standards, so by right, they're able to form this lot. And they created a lot that meets all current standards. They were able to present to us that they meet current stormwater standards as well. And unfortunately, the wetlands issue, we do have a bylaw going into effect actually tonight that would probably not allow this to be built. So they got in under the gun and they were able to get this proposed lot before us before the bylaw is approved. So the bylaw will be approved tonight. We're going to take a vote on it. Unfortunately, it's not retroactive. So anything that's been before us goes on the old guidance that we have. Going forward, now we have a bylaw in place, and most likely things like this may not occur. So we do have a mechanism in place, and it's brand new, and we're going to implement it tonight on a vote.
Okay. So the current bylaws, this whole garage issue is just a please don't build into this 30-foot
Correct.
zone, but there's no
Correct.
requirement that you not do that.
Correct. Now, in the bylaw, we're going to have a requirement.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions?
I have one more. John, what about getting a zoning variance to move the house closer to the other side? I don't know anything about how planning works, but I'm just wondering about that possibility.
We've gone down this road on other projects over the years, and typically the threshold for a variance is you need a hardship. I know, and that's a subjective thing. In my experience with the zoning board is, unless there is, something topographic like ledge or something that can keep you, does the proximity to the wetlands um, 22 feet versus 30 feet, does that count as a hardship? I've seen that as being a hard sell in the past with the zoning board. I don't know if that reaches the threshold of being a hardship in terms of getting a zoning variance. So that's just been my experience in the past.
Okay, thanks.
All right, any other questions?
Just one, so I signed the A&R, but do you have a deed for this lot? Because obviously we'll need the new deed reference, otherwise it's gonna get touched to the parent.
That was the plan was recorded.
Yeah, it is recorded.
Which means you have to have a separate deed for that.
We'll need the
You
deed
have a
for it.
separate deed?
I
Well, what's that?
don't.
No, the plan is recorded. We'll have to
Because if
get-
we don't, what's gonna happen is the deed's gonna reference the parent.
We'll take care of, we'll make sure that gets
So we'll
taken
need that
care of.
before we can
So at
issue the
least-
order.
Yeah.
Do we feel we can close this?
We can close, yeah, I wouldn't recommend issuing, because down the road when they come to the COC, it just causes,
Okay.
because it does have an official street number now, but
Okay.
it doesn't have a deed reference to record the order to, so.
Right, because it needs to attach to that deed.
Otherwise it
Okay,
would be tied to number 40 and not
We'll
42.
have that taken care of.
So if we can get that, we can
Sorry,
get the
I
order, we
have a
just
few
can't.
questions as well. That fortified barrier, where is that starting from the wetland? Do you know the distance of that to the, I would love to see plantings maybe on the,
It varies.
okay,
We kind of went parallel with the side of the house.
Yeah.
And so we didn't go a set barrier off the wetland, we went off of the house and said, okay, let's keep it as tight to the house, but the wetland line jags
yeah.
a little bit.
Do you
so-
know the minimal distance? Because we don't need to laugh in the face of all of our buffers. It would be great
would
just
be
to see
closest to
those,
that.
like
It
the
would be
fence and the boulders, at least
Closest
that
to
minimum.
that
15
wetland
distance.
flag 3, Aaliyah, so this is. We'll call it 9 feet at the closest point, I think.
Okay. Here's the fence, the little.
To that wetland flag number
There's the
3.
boulders and then the squares. Yes, I'm seeing that now.
So it's 9 feet from the house?
It's 9 feet from the wetland.
From the
wetland
closest,
flag.
from the wetland flag 3.
Wetland flag, wait, 3?
That's the closest point.
And the blueberries and boulders will start from wetland flag 1 to wetland flag 8?
Correct.
I don't know, I know we've seen, blueberries are a better monoculture than some, but could we have a little
You want a little
variety
variety?
pack?
Yeah, I'll talk to
Sweet pepper bush.
Yeah,
Sweet Pepper Bush.
yeah, especially as we get into that wetter area where it's just upland of the,
Okay.
it might be
Yeah.
good to see a little more obligate sort of, maybe fact stuff.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, then we'll close the hearing.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate your time. What do you want to talk about?
You want to go back to
go
32
back?
East Lake Road?
Yes.
Yep, we'll
So,
go back to 32, an RDA for 32 East Lake Road. We have already opened this.
yeah, so there was a tree that fell, it was uprooted. This is property owned by Jim Ricciardi. And he did get an emergency order to cut the tree. I think they're still trying to get it out of there. The timing with the tree guy was, but that's all done. Where the tree was uprooted, it uprooted a stone wall. And I think there was a picture.
Yes, let me grab those.
The tree's still there, though.
The tree still, he's got to get the tree out of it. They cut it, but you can see from the picture exactly. In this case, a picture says 1,000 words. So he has to rebuild, he's gonna hand,
Let me find a better one, sorry. There
oh,
you go.
there you go. So the tree's down, you can see where the wall got taken out. So that's gonna be all handwork. He's not gonna bring any machines in there. It's just gonna be, everything will be done by hand, no machines, no nothing. He's just gonna, get the tree out of there. It already fell, and they're gonna have to get that out of there and then rebuild the wall.
He's gonna remove it from the lake as well? It's in the lake.
It's in the lake.
So he's
yes.
gonna remove all the branches, all the debris
Yes.
from the lake off-site.
Yeah, he had, an acquaintance of his said, I can get in there and do it, and didn't happen. So he's calling a couple other people to have somebody get in there as quick as possible, get the tree out of there, but then redo the wall by hand.
So how are they going to get the tree out of there? Are they going to physically go down and cut it into smaller pieces and haul it away? They can't get equipment back there, can they?
I don't know if he's gonna have to get a crane. I don't
Okay.
know. I don't know. That's a good question, Ken.
And is the stump gonna stay where it is?
According to Jimmy, he said, and I don't know if his conversation was different with you, Leah, he said, he's not gonna bring any machines in there, he's gonna do everything by hand, so I don't know if he's gonna leave the stump or try to, that's a good question.
I think
All he told me, he wasn't gonna bring any machines in there, everything was gonna be done by hand, is what he told me.
It seemed a significant portion of the stump was also pulled up with the tree.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, it had sounded like a crane was going to be used. That emergency certificate is only good for 30 days.
Oh.
So if he, because it's for emergencies, it's for like, let's get this done.
Right, and he had a guy lined up who was, a tree guy who's a friend. He said, oh, I can get in there, don't worry, I'll do it, I'll be in there on Friday. And then, as doing favors for friends happens, he didn't show up Friday. And then, don't worry, I'll do it. And he's kind of been kicking the can down the road, so
Okay.
Jim's
So he
trying to
might
get
need to
somebody in
get-
there as quick as he can to
He might
get it
need to
done.
get a new emergency certificate issued.
Okay,
Because I don't remember when I went out there, but
I
it's
don't
been
know.
a fair bit at this point.
okay, I'll relay that to him.
Okay, any
That's it.
questions on the board?
None.
Diane?
No, no questions.
Anybody in the audience have any questions? Okay,
Okay, and thank you very
somebody
much.
like to make a motion?
Go ahead.
I suggest I make a motion that we issue a negative determination for the requested determination of applicability for 32 East Lake Road in order to remove this tree and repair the retaining wall all by hand.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thanks again.
Thanks,
All
John.
set. All right, moving on.
A new one.
A new one, okay, let's go.
We have a new public hearing. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that Brett Sherry of Mass Department of Fish and Game, 1 Rabbit Hill Road, Westboro, Mass. 01581, has filed a notice of intent for the construction of 2 fishing platforms and replacement of a parking lot and a section of walking path at 32 Ridgeland Road, which is Jordan Pond.
Okay,
Brett Cherry, Fish and Game, Fish and Bone Access. We provide access throughout the state. We have 300 access sites. Could be shoreline fishing platforms, boat ramps, car top, just fishing along the shore. We We have 2 ramps currently in Shrewsbury. Everyone's probably familiar with Quinsigamon, state ramp. Flint Pond's also a state ramp. So what we do is we team with cities and towns. If they own the property, we'll come in, we'll pay for the construction. And in this case, this Jordan Pond, the property is owned by Shrewsbury. So we would come in, pay for the construction of platforms, and all the permitting, everything else. For this project, we're looking at 2 fishing platforms in areas along Jordan Pond that are heavily fished. Currently worn down, opening. We would be looking at concrete blocks. We've used it at many sites throughout the state. We wouldn't be going into the actual water body. We go up to the shore. We would do the fishing platforms first. We'd have to bring an excavator for that. Go down the parking. We wouldn't disturb the parking or the sidewalk. We'd leave that all intact throughout construction of platforms. That way we wouldn't disturb any of the soil on the way down. Construct the platforms. We would replace the entire sidewalk going back and the parking also, partly because they're in bad condition already, but we'd also be driving over them, storing materials. So we would replace it, and the current sidewalk has roots coming up through it, broken up. So we're trying to improve fishing on Jordan Pond and make it handicap accessible, which is not if you walk on it right now. The sidewalk, it's banks you have to traverse and everything, so we're trying to make it accessible to kids, handicap, and everybody else. So, any questions?
Martha?
I am thrilled to see increased access for this pond. It's a beautiful site. That path is, it's gorgeous. It's in good condition, but it's really evident that the shoreline has been worn down by erosion, and it's you just don't have good access to it. I have 2 questions.
Yep.
What does car top mean?
So car top is basically kayaks and canoes. So if you look at where people launch, it's right off the parking lot, right in that corner right now. I've been down there quite a bit. So people drag their kayaks down. So we wouldn't be making a boat ramp. So really it's just more taking a look, and right now it kind of washes out because there's nothing there. We would do just a gravel a little to the edge of the water just so people can bring their kayaks down. Just make it a little more accessible, but we wouldn't be making any changes to the chains or anything else, so we don't want boats, basically. So it would just be more for kayaks and canoes, which is already being used.
So cars would be allowed to go down to the shore itself?
No, they'd be parked and then people just drag them down like they currently do. So they would park up in the parking lot.
Okay.
And I don't know if you, I'm a kayak fisherman myself. Most of the time, either you have 2 people with a canoe, or with my kayaks, they're 13 foot, a lot of them. You have little wheels on them, and you just park, bring it down, and drag it down to the water. And so we wouldn't be changing the intended use of the facility at all, just making it a little more accessible for the kayak users and canoe users in that corner.
Okay. And then the second question is, what about maintenance? I mean, if something happens to this, I don't know what that could be, but
Yep, no, and
neighbors are concerned, so.
similar to the 2 boat ramps in town. So the day-to-day management, the town takes care of. Town properties still do trash or different things, but we help with policing, environmental police, local police can also police the areas, but we just say the floats need to be placed in that Quinsigamon, or something happens with these, we're on the hook forever. So we'll come back as long as we have money. It might take a year or 2 when we get funding, but we'll come back and replace anything or fix anything. So it's really good for the town, providing access. It's good for us because we want access for everybody. So it's almost like a win-win. So yeah, I mean, if it ever needs any maintenance, replacement, anything else, I mean, well, we have a couple in-house guys who do small fixes day to day. But yeah, if it needs to be repaved, anything like that, we'll take care of it. So.
Okay, thank you. I'll stop for now.
Diane?
So I also want to say that making it, improving the handicap accessibility is really fantastic. People really deserve to be able to go outside and be happy. So that's just marvelous. I'm really happy about that. Thank you. I just wanted to just clear up I kayak.
Mhm.
And I drag my kayak down to the water. So this is not going to increase any erosion, is that right?
It shouldn't. We're not changing the grades over there or anything else. We're not allowing drive down, so whatever's currently there, it's currently a chain across that prevents vehicles from going down. So it will just be people dragging down their kayaks in the same spot. And hopefully, if you actually make a gravel ramp, which nothing's there right now, it actually prevents erosion a little bit. So that's kind of plan. We're not widening the parking. The parking's gonna stay the same. The only thing, when we do a project this, we have a couple designated shore fishing spots, which is already agreed upon with the town. The rest of the spaces and stuff, free for all, so we're not gonna affect any of the park space and anything like that, so. I know they were looking at doing, electric vehicle chargers there. I mean, we talk about that type of stuff too. We're more focused on the fishing portion of it.
Okay, thank you. That's all my questions.
Thanks. Jason?
No questions, other than, thank you. I think it'd be great to get these platforms down there.
So, is it funded? Do you have the money to do this?
Yeah, we're hoping to go this fall or spring. I haven't been down there recently. I've been getting a lot of calls the last month about high water. So unfortunately, we wouldn't want to do it during high water. So this fall, maybe I was hoping to get there today, but tomorrow I'll be in the area too. So I'll go take a look. But fall or spring, I mean, we're looking to get this project done.
Okay. Staff, have any questions?
Just one, so you're not digging in the water line. Are you expecting to de-water at all? Because I mean, just looking at the detail, it looks like the footings are below the water, the lake
Not
level.
expecting to de-water. We are gonna have a silt curtain. That's a full
Okay.
depth serve curtain with a ballast that holds it in the bottom. So there might be some sediment that goes out, but the curtains tend to hold it pretty well.
Okay.
We use those coastal. We use those. We just did same blocks out in the Swift River. We're gonna do a project in the Quabbin coming up with the same steel curtain and everything.
Okay.
So it just kind of contains it. And the curtain, we do one platform at a time, move the curtain as we go. And yeah, try to do as much as we can. Any stockpile areas, there'll be a minimal, but concrete blocks and stuff, but the equipment, obviously silt sock around. But I mean, this is a project on town property also, so I mean, we would hope anything you guys need, we'd be open to, so.
Okay. Anybody in the audience have any questions? Okay, I guess we'll close the hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a new public hearing. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that Essex Petrie, 115 Flanders Road, number 200, Westboro, Mass. 01581, has filed an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation for the delineation of a bordering vegetated wetland and inland banks of an intermittent stream at 33 to 69 Green Street. Thank you.
Good evening.
Hi.
How are you? Essex Petrie with Pulte Homes. And I'm joined online by Meredith Bornstein of SWCA. She's our wetland scientist, and she's going to present our plan. Here she is.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Meredith.
Were you able to introduce the project? I'm sorry.
Yep. Yep, it's, we are on its end. Now I turned it over to you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Meredith Bornstein. I'm wetland scientist with SWCA Environmental Consultants. We flagged this property on Green Street, on the eastern side of town there. Would it be okay if I shared my screen with everybody?
Sure.
Okay, see if I can do this correctly. Oh, I never know which one. Fire screen. Oh, shoot. You know, every sharing thing is different. I'm used to Zoom and now Google Meet is.
It's a little square with that up arrow in it. I know
Next
there's,
to the hand.
yes, between the hand and the happy face.
Okay. Oh, here, okay, got it. There's my plan.
Yeah, it's just different enough.
It's just different enough. Okay, so can everyone see the overview?
Yes.
Sheet, okay. So this is the property. It's about 41 acres. It's located to the, let's see, this is the north arrow up here. So north is not just up on the plan, for the record. So Green Street is located to the east, South Street is to the north. Route 20 runs parallel to the property over here. And can you see my mouse okay?
Yep.
Yes.
Great. So there's a large wetland complex that sort of spans the northern part of the property. We have flagged all the boundary of the bordering vegetated wetland throughout the property. We also flagged the banks of an intermittent stream that enters the site via a culvert under Green Street and flows through the wetlands all the way to the other side, to the eastern property bound, and flows out into these residences over here. So we flagged the edge of the bordering vegetated wetland relative to the upland on all sides, and then the intermittent stream, we only flagged the banks where it was a relative, like the most horizontal extent of the jurisdictional area, essentially, so we could get an accurate buffer zone based on the edge of whatever wetland was closest, whether it was a bank or a stream wetland, if that makes sense. So, this is an ANRAD. We're just asking approval and confirmation of the wetland flags and the boundary. I can speak to the wetland type. Basically, this is a large forested wetland dominated by red maple. There's some large cottonwoods over here. And there is a small, I would call it an emergent wetland over by Green Street. It was a little bit different up here on the hillside adjacent to the stream, but this area is mostly red maple with an understory of blueberry, winterberry, skunk cabbage, that type of habitat. So we submitted all the figures, photographs, wetland determination data forms with our ANRAD application. I don't know if you were able to see that. I can show you an overlay of the property on either a Google map or a 2021 ortho photo. Let me see if I can do that so we have a better sense of the site. Go back to share, window. Oh, I don't see. You know what? I'm sorry, I have to highlight, I have to be on the right screen in order to share it, for it to come up as an option. Okay, got it. So I'll just show you some photos. This is an example of the large forested wetland complex. You can see the stream, small stream running through the middle of it. This is a different part of the wetland with the skunk cabbage, and actually I think some of this might be honeysuckle. There was a very large stand of honeysuckle, surprisingly, in the wetland there. Just some more overview photos of the resource area. Let's see, this is one of our wetland determination data plot photographs. So you can see the upland, the wetland is on that side of the flag. This is wetland soil for this particular flag. And then you have the upland soil on the other side of the flag. And a picture of the same wetland flag looking at the uplands there. So I will say the delineation was pretty straightforward as far as wetland delineations go. I mean, there's a very clear topographic change between uplands and wetlands, so that made it a bit easier for us to flag. Sorry, I lost you guys for a second, but would you like to see the photo, the aerial photograph?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, so this is the whole property, and you can see the green represents the bordering vegetated wetland where we flagged the edge, and then the blue represents the intermittent stream where we flagged the bank in certain locations. And the site is largely forested. So I think, does anyone have any questions about the delineation or the site?
Martha?
I don't have a question, but I do just want to say that that's a very large wetland complex. And can only imagine the amount of work that went into doing the delineation. I hope that it was fun.
Too many ticks.
I will also say I've seen spotted salamanders on Green Street in that area in the spring when they would be moving in towards their breeding spots. So that wetland complex is pretty biologically functional and valuable. I'm all set.
Okay. Diane?
I don't really have any questions. I'd just like to say that I'd like to visit this and, follow the flags along the delineated area. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Jason?
No questions right now.
I think, would you guys recommend a peer review of this?
We typically do when it's, it's an ANRAD, because it's obviously we're locking them in for 3 years, so.
Right.
And obviously staff unfortunately doesn't have the capabilities at this point to.
100%,
From the
correct.
line, so we would recommend that we get a peer review.
Yeah, we would probably want to do a peer review.
Sure.
Just to review your line. I mean, it's so much and so vast, and it's such a sensitive area. I think it's wise for us to ask for that.
Nope, understood. And what would be the process for that? Do you have somebody or a consultant on, or would this be just?
So yeah, we have a typical consultant we use, so we'll get an estimate from them, and then, you can give us a deposit. and-
Awesome. Yeah, as soon as you have a number.
Cut them loose.
Let me know and we'll work with you.
And then just confirming, so we're just doing the ANRAD basically for the western side, the northern side by South Street. We're not, that's not
Correct.
being locked in, okay.
What are your future plans for the site? if you
Well,
don't
we're
mind?
still looking at putting in a residential development there, but, this is obviously one of the next steps or one of the first steps that we have to take as part of that process.
Okay, any other questions from the audience? Okay. So with that peer review, you'd probably have to ask for a continuance.
All right, would we be able to get this in for the next meeting, because you guys are 2 weeks, correct?
No, once a month.
Yes, once a month. So our next meeting will be on October 17th.
October 15th, all right.
17th.
17th, sorry.
Tuesday.
And I ask that we be continued to the October 17th meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Meredith.
I made a mess of that. It's a big mess. All right.
Yes, we can see if we can.
Moving right along.
Yeah, if we can get that ready to go by the
Folder?
Thank you.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Sure, have a good night. Thank you.
Okay. We have a new public hearing. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that Bob Mohaltra, 46 Deerfield Road, Shrewsbury, Mass., has filed a notice of intent for the construction of a single-family home with paved drive, grading, infiltration, and utility connections to town utilities at 7 Flanagan Drive. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Ken Strom, WDA Design Group in Westboro. Brian Waterman could not be here tonight. Brian's had numerous emails and whatnot with the DEP, Kimberly Roth, and they'd asked us to change. It's a project that's largely in the riverfront area. So it's outside the actual buffer, wetland buffer, the 100-foot buffer, but this is the riverfront, the longer blue dashed. So it's pretty much in the riverfront, the 200-foot riverfront. The comments we received from DEP were primarily to try to pull it back away from the river. So what we had was a side loader garage originally coming in the left side. And these are steep grades up here too. It's on a hill. So she wanted to pull it to change it to a front loader. So to accommodate that, we still had to snake the driveway down to meet the grades, the maximum driveway grades, and then have a front loading garage. I believe you have a packet probably that includes a lot of photographs and
That all the questions from the, did the DEP have more questions?
see, up till like yesterday, I think Brian was
Yeah, that
conversing
was
with
the
her.
last question
Yeah.
around.
Can you go through all the questions and the answers that they had, that you went through with them?
Yes.
Yeah, we addressed all of her.
Can you address them to the board so we know what they were, please?
Mhm. So basically to summarize, I'm not going to read the email message, but trying to drive straight down to the front entry garage, which maintains less than 10% per town regs in the right-of-way to the front setback. That's the driveway grade. And the result was the garage being well above finished floor of the home, which meant having to slide the home and garage farther back to the west. Basically, north is up the plan. Julio Drive Complex, South Gate is behind us. Plant just runs off of Francis, and that stream runs parallel to basically along the backyards of Francis. Significant grading and walls, retaining walls beyond what was originally proposed. However, we were able to go to a front entry garage, sliding the drive entry a bit west. So that's what I was illustrated here. To make the grades and elevations work, this results in original submitted drive location being moved 30 feet east away from the stream. As the elevations work, this results in the original submitted drive location being moved 30 feet east. So basically, what we're saying is the difference between those two plans, the side loader, the previous plan I showed you, much closer over here versus the front loader. We adjusted the, actually to go back, this is overall disturbance and clearing in the riverfront area. Adjusted the limit of work, which is, we have the collision control and barrier installed along the tree clearing line. Also, by stepping the grades along the side of the garage, we're able to regrade the rear yard so that all retaining walls have been removed from the rear yard. Limit of clearing and ECB adjusted as well. The limits as shown are needed that protect the house, infiltration, groundwater recharge, retaining walls, utility connections, drive, and minimal yard areas. So there are a number of retaining walls on the west side, along the driveway, and then just off the driveway. We are picking up the driveway with a trench along the edge, and there's a low point here in front of the garage, and that's going into a recharge unit, and the roof leaders drainage collection system is going into recharge in the backyard. That's kind of a summary.
Yep. Excuse me. Okay, is that it? Good?
That's just a brief summary. If you have any other questions.
Right. So this was the initial email that we started. This was the initial feedback, and then we clarified
Yes.
the comments.
Yes, this was just the initial comments of DEP.
And then there were some.
Yes, I have the extensions, but yeah, they're
Right.
extensive, so it's hard to go through and read them off of this thing.
Martha?
I have a question about the garage, and I was looking through the emails, and Mr. Waterman stated that the garage was going to have living space above it.
Right.
Is that, okay, so that was one argument for keeping the garage?
Correct.
All right. What are you planning to do for yard space? It is such a challenging lot.
Right.
It goes down so steeply, and I know you've been asked to minimize that in order to minimize the intrusion into the riverfront. So what are you thinking of in terms of, the dream house that everybody wants that has the grass around it and the lawn for the children to play?
Right. I mean, Ken, would you like to address that? I mean,
Well,
basically.
yeah, I guess the dream house, the lots that you're working on nowadays, typically these A&R lots, these lots are actually created back in the 80s, so pre-96, so it has riverfront issues. But, it's, in this case, I mean, you heard it on the one over on Appaloosa, I guess. You get these small lots. That's what we had, but we've got to try to keep it away from, as best possible, away from the river itself. Which, by the way, that river we actually observed it dry in June. And it's only 0.24 square miles when you run the stream stats. So I think it shows up as a solid blue on the old USGS maps. I think it's kind of I wouldn't call it a perennial stream, but anyhow, it is, per the regulations, solid blue, so it is riverfront. But yeah, I mean, it's what you're left with. I mean, as far as playing wiffle ball in your backyard or whatever you're doing, whatever the kids do, it's not like it was in the 60s and 70s or 80s probably.
We're trying to minimize, bringing the trees and keeping and just focus on where the construction site is. I mean, I'm sure some of us might have visited the site. It's a challenging site to work with, just to begin with. I mean, WDA have visited many times to do all the due diligence and kind of do the grading. And based on that, we had a bigger house actually over here. So based on the initial feedback, and then working with the WDA, they recommended, hey, let's kind of cut short the house over here. The buyer was accepted to that, and then we came up with the smaller design over here on this lot.
So you have a buyer for the house?
Yes.
Okay, this point, all right. Yeah,
it's already sold, actually.
I think that, I think we'll want to pay close attention to mechanisms to keep people from trying to extend the lawn,
Right.
as it were. There are some really nice woods back there, and there's significant wetland vegetation and significant flow in that stream. So I appreciate that you're going forward, treating it as a perennial stream. I think that's all I have, Mr. Polito.
Diane?
Yeah, I actually know this area because I live, I don't know, half-mile away. And I have talked to people who live right along the stream, and they all say that pretty much they don't recall it being a dry bed, that they see it as flowing, you know, that they don't think of it as a dry bed. And when you walk through the woods down there, you can feel the sponginess under your feet. That soil is quite saturated. And right where the house is planned to go, there is right now a seep actually there, which looks to most of us like a sort of a muddy puddle in the middle of the woods, but it's a place where small animals have a very valuable place to go. The water that they drink there is high in minerals because it's gone through the soil and come back up. So birds, butterflies, this is a valuable thing for them. And it is on an incredible steep slope. So I don't think there's any way that the construction here or the construction of upland of it, which is already happening, the 3 lots up above it, will not change the hydrology of this area. I don't think there's any way to prevent that. The trees have been taken down above it, and they will be if this is approved here. And so I guess I also want to ask, like, how many of the trees would be taken down? How many of them would be kept on this lot?
I mean, as I mentioned, we will only, initially we had, if I can stand up, initially we planned, our ECB line was quite deep, was going over here. So we planned to bring the trees down over here, and they're thinner trees over here. But now, as we have narrowed it, so we will be just, our best of interest is to keep the trees, just because of the steep of the lot. It'll help us, you know, grade it nice, level it nice, and put the wall nicely. So our intent will be to only go where our retaining wall is, not to go beyond that. So that'll leave quite a bit of the area at the back over here, this side. And anything we can keep where the house is not situated, then that has been recommended by WDA to leave the trees. So basically, what WDA will be doing, they will be marking down the area where the house is sitting, and that will be our focus area to bring the trees, plus the infiltration system. So we have infiltration system that will take care of all the water from the driveway and the houses. Those needs to be put in place. So those area needs to be considered as well. And again, there's a site work that will require some of the pipes and the drains that to go around that area.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the retaining wall? How high is it? How long is it?
It's 4 feet too, but it's between 4 to 5 feet.
There's a terrace, there's 2 walls actually.
Huh.
Steps down.
So 9 inches, 8 to 9 inches down and 4 feet tall. So that basically will not be seen because they'll just hold the grading of of the lot, so.
So that solid black line, that's the
The
retaining
walls are
wall,
right
it's not
here.
limit of work?
These are the retaining walls over here, just off the driveway in the garage.
These ones.
Yeah, yeah, that's a trench and then that's the retaining wall. This is just a clearing line.
This is the clearing line,
Yeah.
yeah, this is the thing. It's not too many over here, the small over here, right? Because that's on the side of the lot,
Yeah.
so that's not part of this lot.
I mean, this is all gonna be graded, as you see
Right.
by the heavy contours.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Basically, the retaining walls are for the driveway, correct?
But you'll be clearing up to that solid black line on your diagram?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
We'll have to do that just because of the infiltration system and the drainage.
Mhm.
Diane, you all set?
For right now, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Jason?
I don't have any questions right now.
Ken, can you explain how the lot, when the lot was created, and how the Riverfront Act is applied to that lot now?
Right, so the lot was created pre-Riverfront. Riverfront was mid-96. These were created back in the 80s.
86.
86, yeah. Apparently never built because of the steepness. Although they built on the other side, and those driveways go up like 15%, it seems. But yeah, it's on a hill. There's no denying that. But yeah, basically, lots, as long as the lots were created before that date, when they codified the Rivers Protection Act, which they were, then we're, if you couldn't basically, you'd have more restrictions if you tried to create a lot.
Correct.
In that riverfront now.
That's why you're
Riverfront
able-
area.
That's why you're able to build on this lot, because it was created post-Riverfront.
Prior to.
Prior to Riverfront.
Yes.
Correct. Okay. And what are you gonna do to stabilize this as construction is going on?
Well, stabilization, I mean, we do have erosion control barriers at the perimeter. Stabilization.
Correct. So there are two different erosion control barriers that have been installed already on the site. Not on the 7, because we cannot do anything on 7, but the other lots that we have started building, that's 9, 11, and 15. So we'll follow the same procedure over here.
Is that on our plan? Is it in the?
Yes.
Is it in our, okay.
Right.
All right, staff, do you have any questions?
So are you planning to do all 4 lots at the same time, or?
So 9, 11, and 15 are pretty much, half done, I should say, especially 9 and 11. 11 is almost done.
Oh, they're already, okay.
Yeah, so 9
Yeah, they
is,
have a
should
house
be
up.
probably done in.
Oh, because we say we paved it a few years ago, so that's why I don't remember.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I see we have the stormwater permits in there, so I think.
Right, so we have approved stormwater permit.
Yeah, so no, I think we'll set.
Do you know what the new percentage of, so typically, we, in the regulations, you try to stay under 10%, just, I know this is substantially more than that 10% in the outer riparian zone, but I know you've cut it down. Do you know what that new percentage of outer riparian zone you're developing in?
Can I check my phone quickly?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, we'll just need it for the order.
Yeah.
Already had that shelf down here.
I know previously it was 10,000 and something, but
You can do some quick calculation here.
yeah, of course.
I'm blind. I don't know what I'm asking, trust me.
I think the whole house is in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, you won't be able to build it.
But they're allowed to,
Yeah, because it predates, so.
Pound 60.
60?
Yeah.
Okay, down to 60.
That's alteration.
If you could have you or Brian send over just the new percentage,
Sure.
especially if it changes again or anything.
Yep.
I think you've reduced as much as is possible, but
Absolutely.
Any other questions from the audience?
Hello, Ted Dow. I'm at 89 Francis. So I can tell you I've changed a number of kids' clothes as a result of falling into the water, so it's certainly not dry. Been there for about 12 years. I have a couple questions, I guess. Just so the fact that this is being discussed this evening, there's some sort of violation they're seeking relief from?
No.
No?
No.
So we're just a request without, I guess, what is the point of the board hearing this tonight?
They're filing for an order of conditions in order to construct this house, because they're within so many feet of a wetlands or riverfront.
Okay. So there's
no violation.
No violation?
No.
Okay, I thought when I read the materials, there was something about the construction being within the 100-foot. So that's not a violation, that's an as of right?
That's why they're here for a permit, because they're going to be constructing within that regulated area.
I see.
It's basically jurisdictional. It's under our jurisdiction, so.
And so what is the permit process is there's some oversight that happens as a result of being within that realm? Okay. And the request that's being made, is that in line with typical requests for this type of encroachment?
Correct.
Okay. All right. That's all I had. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hi, I'm Steve Cochran on 85 Francis Ave, and I've lived there over 40 years, and I just wanted to note that it's never, ever been dry. That river is always flowing. My kids, my grandkids have skated back there in the wintertime. So it's very wet. I just want to let everyone know that. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I may make a comment, so there will be plenty of opportunity for future kids, future generations of kids to get wet and fall in that stream.
Good for him.
All right, any other questions? All right, I guess we'll close the hearing. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have a new public hearing. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that Lake 20 LLC, 360 Hartford Turnpike, Shrewsbury, Mass., has filed a notice of intent for the construction of a self-storage facility and associated site work at 170 Hartford Turnpike.
Thank you. John Grenier, Jam Grenier Associates. This proposal is for, just to kind of give everybody an update of where things stand. This parcel, this is 170 Hartford Turnpike. This was subdivided from the overall Market Basket project. So what I'm showing you, this is one of the sheets of the set for the Market Basket project, where this parcel that we're discussing tonight for the self-storage, this is part of the order of conditions for the Market Basket project, which this portion of the site consisted of a 12,500 square foot retail building and a secondary 4,000 square foot retail building with all the associated parking, parking lots and utilities. And that site was, again, part of the overall Market Basket project. So what we are proposing is to, under a new notice of intent, is to develop this for this section of the site for a self-storage facility. The same driveway, if you go into Market Basket from across from like Lake Street, where you pull in, which is as you face Market Basket on the right-hand side at the lights, you pull in, they're building the Starbucks right now. There's a mounded, treed portion right behind Starbucks that is under restrictions because something Indian artifacts related, you're not supposed to touch that. So on the back side of that, that's where if you take a left, you pull in front of Market Basket. If you continue straight back, you go to where the apartments are. And this is where the detention basin is that services a good portion of that site. So there, right now, the driveway that leads into this portion of the site, that's stubbed just about right here. That's stubbed off right now. And they have utilities, there's sewer and water and other utilities stubbed off of that into this driveway to feed the future development of this. So what we are proposing, again, is to, it would be typical to what you see if you go down Route 9, you see like Cube Smart, some of those. You have a couple of main buildings which would be heated buildings. That's where they would have the office and interior heated storage with walking aisles for storage for temperature control. And then the balance of it would be smaller buildings. They're about 30 feet deep and the lengths vary, be 150, 160, 180 feet long. And the way that we designed this was, obviously we're feeding in off of the existing road, and in order to work with the grades, as we went back with the buildings, we stepped them down, stepped them down, stepped them down, stepped them down, so that we're working with the contours on the site. What we tried to do is, instead of doing a big, massive, parking area and with big buildings like you would need for a retail, we're trying to work with the site with these, and we have the ability to do that by stepping the elevations of the buildings down. Historically, this, it seems wooded now, but walking back there, it's very obvious that in the days, probably even before the old drive-in movie theater was there, there's a ridge that traverses north-south. When we went to look at the soils to determine what we needed to do for drainage, this ridge right here, you'll dig some holes and you'll go down 10, 15 feet, and it's sand and gravel. Then you go a little bit further, then you start running into rock. So and in the back corner over here, there was a pile of boulders. So it appears that there was this central area of the site, that really wasn't touched so much because there was probably a lot of rock, but around the perimeter of it, there's like a haul road, and you can see people they must have excavated out sands and gravels in there over the years, because there is a little loop road that goes around there. All the other areas of the site where we did dig, if we weren't hitting rock along this center ridge, all sand and gravel, beautiful, well drained, and what I'm assuming happened, there is an area that is within the floodplain back here. So when they went out and they excavated over the years, took out all the sands and gravels, there was an area that was lower right here that ended up being turned into floodplain because it's within the flood zone. So for the development of this, although we are stepping the grades down, we do have to replicate, or there will be some flood storage that will be filled, and we're replicating that at the southerly end of the site, and also on the westerly side of the site. And it's really only about a foot of flood zone or floodplain. it's not like there's 3 or 4 feet, there's like 1 foot that it's below the floodplain. So we just really had to make sure we kept pretty much the same square footage at that same elevation, because the way that you, and I'm sure you know, the way that you replicate flood storage is if you have, you're in the floodplain from, say, elevation 100 to 101, you have to provide the equivalent storage volume at 1 foot increments. So you can't have, it has to be equal volumes at the same elevation increment. So you can't just dig a big deep hole in one spot and say, oh yeah, we're giving you the volume. Well, no, it has to be at the same elevations as the floodplain. So we are accomplishing that in the rear portion of the southerly portion of the site, and also on the westerly portion of the site. In terms of drainage, for the retail that was under the existing order of conditions, the majority of that was being captured and drained into the existing detention basin. For the higher portions of the site, we have the ability to drain into that existing detention basin. Obviously, we're treating it and then discharging that into the detention basin. For the southerly portions of the site, because as I said, we are dropping the elevations down, we can't get to the detention basin by gravity. So we're capturing the runoff from both the roof and the internal driveways, and we're treating that, and we're putting subsurface recharge chambers along, that's flanked on both the easterly and the westerly side of that. So we have good soils, good sands and gravels, so we have the ability to recharge the runoff from the roofs, as well as some of the driveway areas, treat that and put that into the ground. In terms of utilities, sewer, water, electricity, everything is feeding off of the existing market basket infrastructure, which is stubbed off into this site. In terms of plantings, we are mimicking a lot of the same plantings that are throughout the existing development, just for consistency. We have mixes of, for trees, Emerald City tulip, we have greenspire linden, some flowering pear, and some snow crab. So those are sprinkled particularly along the entranceways where you come into the site, and they're flanking some of the parking areas. That's kind of the long and the short of it. I believe that there is an existing order of conditions that this is under, that was part of the whole market basket. So this is really just a change, although it's a new notice of intent filing. It's going to be a change in what is a currently approved development for this portion of what was part of the market basket site.
But this wasn't shown, all this work. The original was just one smaller building.
It was, if the extent, and it got chopped off, the extent of the work, if here's the detention basin, so, and they did have some dumpster unloading areas, it would probably approximately went equivalently as far south as the detention basin, so it went to about approximately here, this, somewhere between half and 2/3 of the site. This was, they had the big building here and a smaller building over here, and then all of the parking area in this middle. There is some additional units that we are putting further to the south. And again, we're capturing all of that runoff, and we're putting that into recharge chambers, subsurface recharge chambers. So the extent of work is more because we are going further south, but my point was there was already development approved for this. We're just changing the scope of it.
You're making it larger.
Yes. And this portion of the site is, I know they ran into some ledge when they were doing, when they started building the Starbucks, and there's definitely some ledge along this ridge right here in the middle of the site. So between trying to minimize ledge cuts and then trying to balance the site, it's an expensive site to develop. At the long and short of it is an expensive site, because you will be trucking in material and you will have some issues with ledge. Yeah, that's really the long and short of it. If you have any questions or comments, we'd like to address them. Oh, we did keep, as a point of reference, we did keep any of the building more than 30 feet away from the wetlands. There is off-grading, obviously to meet grade. We tried to minimize the amount of grading by stepping the buildings down, and there will be other disturbance, obviously, to provide the flood storage area at the south side and on the westerly side. But we did make sure that we kept the building locations more than 30 feet, 30 feet minimum from the wetlands.
Martha?
So John, the northern half was part of the original proposal to be developed, but you have essentially doubled the area here that you're proposing to construct. And I don't quite understand, I've been looking for the legends. It throws me that big shaded area that you have all of these buildings proposed on. So I would like to understand a little bit more about that.
That shaded area in the middle, that's the area that's within the floodplain.
Right.
That was, at one point, was excavated down when at some point someone took the sand and gravel out of the site. And so in order to, and again, that's only about a foot within the floodplain. So what you're required to do
A
is.
foot vertically?
You can't just fill the floodplain, you
Yeah.
have to replicate it.
Right.
So at the same elevations as what the existing floodplain is. So what we're doing, Martha, is this area that has floodplain, we're providing at the same elevations flood compensatory storage in
So
this area and compensatory storage in this area. That's at the same elevations as that shaded part in the middle.
So are you digging out that area to provide
Correct. Yes.
which is very close to the wetlands?
Well, it has to be hydraulically connected so that the water can get there.
Right,
Otherwise, you're just digging a hole.
but it's still disturbance within the buffer zone?
Absolutely, it is
Yeah.
disturbance.
Okay,
So the elevation in that area, Martha, is about elevation 360, and we're bringing it down to about elevation 357, so we're digging it down about 3 feet.
3 feet, which,
So the,
yeah,
so the elevation of the area that's in the floodplain, what is that elevation? Is it on the plan?
It is. The elevation of the floodplain elevation's like 358.
Is that on here?
It is. In the shaded area, the limit of that 358 is the limit of that shaded area in that portion of the site. And then if you're looking at sheet 3, go to sheet 3. In the top corner, we have our flood storage, fill, and replication totals. So from the flood elevation is at 358. So from 358 to 357, there's about, call it 315 cubic yards of volume. And so what we're doing to compensate for that is on the southern, we're excavating down on the southern portion, which which is at the top of the sheet. And then on the right-hand side of your sheet, those two they're labeled floodplain compensatory storage. We're providing 323 cubic feet of storage volume. So we're increasing it by, 7 cubic feet, from 315 to about 323. So we're at a 1-to-1 with that, just to make sure that you have the flood storage volume. So we're replicating that on both the southern and the western portion of the site, which is standard.
Okay.
I'm done.
Diane?
Yeah.
So I apologize, I do wish that I understood this site better. It's a lot to absorb all at once. So at this time, I have no questions.
Okay, Jason?
So, John, sorry if I'm beating a dead horse here. You're gonna fill this enormous hole in the middle of the site, right?
I wouldn't say-
Floodplain fill.
When you say enormous, it's about a foot, is about a foot.
But across.
But yeah, yes.
Across, I'm not talking about
Yeah.
deep, but
Yeah.
across, it is a fairly large area, right?
Okay.
And then you're going to dig these compensatory areas 3 feet down, right next to the wetlands on the south and west side of the site.
Yeah, on the south side, there's about a 3-foot cut from what exists.
How many square feet is that? I mean, not the 3 foot, total area. I mean, because it looks like a fairly large compensatory storage.
I don't have the
Okay.
square footage. I could throw a scale on it and give you.
No,
an approximate.
it's not.
All right.
But on the south, I mean, right in a disturbance area. And then same on the west side, correct? Which is abutting Flint Pond.
Correct. Again, once that's dug down, and as you know, with a lot of these storage facilities, there's a chain link fence that
Oh, yeah.
goes right around. So that'll get dug down and it's gonna be left to go natural.
And where's all this fill coming from?
There'll be some cut within the site. And I think
Like, are you removing anything from the compensatory areas and using that as fill?
No, not really, because once you cut through the topsoil and the subsoil, you're not gonna have much, gravelly material to
Mhm.
use on the
Okay.
site. You're not gonna be using it as a borrow pit. It's really not gonna generate much of anything. It's more of a chore than,
Sure.
than anything.
I'm good for now.
Okay, question with the filing in the wetlands flags.
Mhm.
How old are these flags?
If I'm not mistaken, Ken, the order of conditions for the Market Basket project, they had requested extensions on those, and so which this was part of that. So, and I can double check the dates, but they had extensions on the order of conditions. So I believe that this wetland line and flagging is current under the existing order for the Market Basket.
But this is a new order, right?
Yeah, that's
Request-
the issue. There's already an order of conditions from, this really should be an amendment to the condition, the current order of conditions.
Oh.
Mhm.
I don't think it should be a new filing. It should be an amendment to the order. Or they should close out the order one, because that one's still active. You can't have two active orders on the same property.
But then if you're doing, not to say I disagree with you, but on the flip side of it, so if you're doing more work or there's a change in the scope of the project, a lot of times they say, well, file for a new order because it's not a minor change. So, but this is kind of in a weird spot because it was part of an overall larger development, but now it's a different proposal for this portion of it. So, to be more cautious, I said, we'll just file for a new NOI. And this was chopped out as a separate parcel. Now, this is 170 Hartford Turnpike, and it's a separate parcel from the overall market basket. So I could go either way on it, tell you the truth.
Yeah, because it was, all three parcels were under the original order.
Yes.
Sounds like the original order should be amended to remove.
Or we should close the old one out, because I mean, historically, I'm surprised DP didn't flag it. You don't normally can't have two active order conditions on one property. You should only have one. You should be amending it as you go along.
And to your point, where that project is quote unquote done, this is really besides the Starbucks, which is, I don't even know if that's within a buffer zone, even though that was part of the overall site. So I don't know. We're kind of in a.
You have a file number for this? Is this?
Yes.
Yeah, DEP, because DEP had a lot of comments on it, so they did.
Right.
That's why I'm surprised they didn't. But sometimes,
Well,
I mean, there's a lot of questions that DEP raised that
correct
need addressing.
Right, and that's, I was gonna call Mia McDonald, she was the reviewer for this, but then I wanted to get input from your commission before I started piecemealing, making revisions.
I'm just thinking if it's a new filing and they gave you a number, you should at least review the line. And we should.
That's fine.
Maybe we should have a peer.
Yeah, I think we can't double dip here, yeah. It's like, we do a new filing, then we should be.
We should have a peer review of the line.
Just make sure it hasn't changed, because they do change.
Yeah, I mean, for the vast majority of it, it is on the western side, on the other side of the detention basin, that's more wetland. On the southern side, it's lake. So I don't know that there would be much variation with the lake, obviously. But there is a fingers of wetlands that come in on the other side of the detention basin.
No, when they came in originally with the order, they were going to stay away from the lake, and now you're getting right up into it, into Flint Pond. So, I think you should look at whatever mitigations you can do to prevent anything from going into the pond, because you're going to be right up against it.
Okay.
I think you should add something for that. And you need to answer, there were a lot of questions from the DEP that need to be addressed.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they were getting into she had some questions about, I can address them. I looked at them, I can address them, but we will be obviously addressing them.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the other question obviously is self-storage, so then we don't know what's in these buildings. That's always my concern with self-storage facilities, especially when they're right next to a resource area. We have no idea what's stored in them. So we should think about how we want to regulate that.
I know that in other facilities in town, for instance, like the Cube Smart that's over by Price Chopper, they don't allow nothing that has gas in it. You can't store vehicles in there. Nothing that's, nothing where you can pull a vehicle in. And I know they limit at least, anything that could have the issues with, gas tanks and whatnot. So I know that they do have restrictions on that historically with some of the other facilities in town. Beyond that, it's somebody's old dresser and mattresses.
Is this being built to suit, or is there an actual client for this site? I mean, do you have a?
No, my client is gonna build it.
They're gonna run it, or are they gonna sell it to someone that keeps it whole?
No. The intent is to, they're working with a company out of Connecticut who builds them. They provide everything and they build them, and then they give you the resources to manage it. So they're looking to own it and manage it long-term, not just flip it to a CubeSmart or you know, whatever, StoreGuard.
Well, you're going to ask for a continuance, you have some questions to ask, to answer. We're
And-
going to do a peer review, so you'll have to get together with Alea.
Sure.
and do a price for that.
Okay, and do you have, in terms of mitigation for areas, are you, just to know what direction you're going, are you looking at plantings or looking at, I don't know, I just want a little bit of direction.
I mean,
Even
I'm
the flood
really-
storage areas, we can plant, because those are gonna be down, you know, obviously at within the floodplain. We can do plantings with, obviously throughout that, to try to get those to start going natural quicker. I'm just kind of throwing out
I mean, if you
ideas.
mirrored something like what they did in the front of that project,
Oh,
some of their grasses and plantings.
Oh,
and
yeah,
different
yeah.
Things, I think they did a very nice job with the landscaping in front. I mean, if you could put some of that in the back or around where it's close to where it's going to be going into the lake as a buffer, I think that would
Okay,
look good.
I agree
Wow.
with that. Okay, so I'll, if I have any questions, I may be contacting, because we're also, where we're modifying some of the permits, we are working with the owners of the owners of the project, of the property adjacent to us, are the guys who own the apartment building, so I can reach out to them and see exactly what they did for plantings in that, it was a wet basin out in front, so,
right.
okay.
No flowering pear.
No flowering?
No flowering pear. It's being considered to be put on the invasive species list.
Really?
Statewide. Yes,
Why is it
because it's invasive.
real? I know, but it's a pear tree.
And it's ferocious.
I don't see it
Sorry?
taking over. like-
Flowers are stinky and the
The
fruit.
flowers are
like
sticky
that.
and they
Well, I'll reach
smell
out to
bad
them.
and they're
Yeah,
very
see if we can
fragile. They
close it out.
break
If
in
they're done with their
storms.
section,
Really?
we can close it
Yeah.
out.
Oh, I also
So
had a
you'll ask
note
them to
about
close that out?
the
think we have to.
numerous
Yeah.
snow storage areas
You can't have two.
that were included on
Yeah.
this project, and that the majority of them abut the wetland. So I have concerns that all of that nasty snow is gonna go right
Yeah.
into what little wetland is being
And the other,
maintained.
and I noticed on the way that this permit works for everything, I know that the planning board wanted it to be under a lot of the same property management. And there's so many integral, like, cross easements, whether it's for utilities and access and everything else. They have huge snow storage areas over at
I was gonna say, the
Market Basket.
parking lot in front of Market Basket is pretty expansive. They
And
must
to the
have room
right
for some
of,
Snow.
and to the right of the Market Basket building, they have that whole grass lawn area, and they have that designated as snow storage area. So I may talk to them to see if we can piggyback with
Yeah.
some of their snow storage areas as well.
That would be great to see some of these, because, yeah, they're abutting the beautiful new floodplain that you are putting in and
Right.
a lot of the,
Yeah, you get,
there's just also a lot of them. Was it just?
well, I was trying to find, okay, let's buy here, let's buy here, let's buy here, let's buy here.
You're making it really easy on the plow guys, but
Let's
not,
spread the love.
not on the
Yeah.
habitat there.
Okay, all right, well, thank you very
So
much.
just out of curiosity, is planning board making you come in for a modification to the site permit, or like, the special permit?
Yeah, well,
I'm gonna ask.
what
Mr.
they,
Mark.
yeah, what they request, and we're gonna meet with them, I think, next week. You may be involved in.
Okay.
in that, is, yes, technically, there is a modification to their special permit, with kind of a stipulation that it's only to discuss the modifications for this portion of the site. And that's more of a legal thing. Nobody wants to open up, a can of worms for an entire development that's already done. primarily for just a modification to, you know, the westerly portion of it. So that's, we're gonna have a meeting. I know that I was getting emails between myself, Richard Ricker, Mark Donahue, with Fletcher Tilton, who represented them. So we were looking to see what times work so that we can, and I believe that Richard Ricker already spoke to Patty about it. And
Okay, I haven't heard anything, but I'll
so,
touch base with you tomorrow.
I think there was something that was between myself, Mark Donahue, and Richard Ricker to try to schedule some time to meet with staff, probably in the next week or so.
All right.
Okay.
So it will be continued to October 17th, correct?
Yes, thank you very much. And I'll coordinate with Aaliyah about getting a peer review and getting that moving. Hopefully we can get that done
All right, thank you.
sooner rather than later.
Got one more? Mark?
Yeah. Is there a file number?
No. I checked about 6 p.m. back. See, in case somebody at DP was working after hours. And there was not.
Okay, all right, so we can open but not close. Okay. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that Whitney Street Home Builders, 118 Turnpike Road, Suite 200, Southborough, Mass. 01772, has filed a notice of intent for the construction of a single-family home and associated parking, drainage, and stormwater utilities at 276 Green Street. That's all I got. You're on.
So, again, I'm James Tatro from Azimuth Land Design, here representing Whitney Street Home Builders. They're the owner of a 17 and change acre lot at 276 Green Street. It's a very big lot, as I said, 17 acres. It has frontage on the, I guess you'd say, the westerly side of Green Street, opposite the Grafton Job Works. It's bordered by a cemetery property at the corner of Centec and Green Street. Also bordered by, this is was called Lot 1X. This is, if you drive by on Centec, this is the parcel where you see all the National Grid trucks, the white trucks parked. You go further up, this 17-acre parcel has frontage on Centec Boulevard and reaches at its north end as high as touching Fortune Boulevard. Then it is bordered by the Alltech Inc. site at the north side and is just up here. This site includes wetland, which was part of the order of conditions that was issued for the adjacent lot at 270 just under 2 years ago. The wetland was, again, the same as was looked at when the Fortune Boulevard subdivision was first done and when the Alltech Inc. Site was done. What's shown in here are green areas of delineated wetland. There's also a pond which is in a Mass Historical Commission preservation restriction area. That was created when the subdivision was first done. There's also a very small Mass Historical Commission preservation restriction area around this wetland right near Green Street. In addition, there are a couple other circular areas on site of the Mass Historical Commission. What the applicant, Whitney Street Home Builders, is proposing to do is to bring a driveway in off the west side of Green Street, rise up to an area in front of a building here, have this be a walkout back. This building would be constructed more than 30 feet from the nearest wetland. The work in the backyard would be more than 15 feet from that wetland. It's difficult to see on here, but we're proposing a line of boulders at this nearest proximity to the wetland. And just again, for some more reference, this whole site, the topography, this is all wooded except for the existing sewer and water easement that runs through. This is how the the Fortune Boulevard sites get their sewer and water. It's again from Grafton, The sewer's coming through here, is joined by the water off of Green Street. They run this way, then they run easterly, then up to just about the cul-de-sac circle of Fortune Boulevard. The rest of this that is not the easement that's cut there is wooded cover. It's all Paxton series soil, kind of average till, and the grades are running basically west to east. This is around 460 at the cemetery, 450, 440, 430, 20, 10, and you're actually under 400 at the culvert that takes flow under Green Street onto the Grafton Job Works property. This is not a perennial stream, has never been on the USGS as such. It is most of the time flowing, but it has been observed multiple times not flowing. But again, it's not shown on USGS as perennial. And what this is proposing is the areas shown in green would be altered. This would be lawn primarily and landscaping around the building. Again, driveway access, some parking spaces. We would put in a couple of catch basins, which would direct flow to a drain manhole, to a CDS stormwater filter unit, and to an infiltration structure with 26 retain-it precast concrete chambers. And this would take all the flow in the 2-year storm. You would get piped out flow in the storms bigger than that. But again, we're not proposing altering any wetlands. It's the same boundary as was confirmed on the order of conditions less than, I think, 2 years ago for the adjacent property. And we're maintaining the town's desired setbacks. I guess I would just quickly note, we would gain water service through a connection to the main right here. We would have sanitary sewer by discharging an E1 line to this existing sewer manhole here, after which, running this way, all the flow is by gravity. I think we'd get electric from pole number 60, bringing the electric service down and a conduit over to the building. I guess that's it. I will try and answer any questions. But again, as you noted, unfortunately, DEP hadn't come through with the file number assignment yet.
Okay, Martha?
How big is this house going to be?
I'll get the square footage wrong. It's, the footprint was it 1,800 square feet?
I think the floor, about 3,000, I think, per floor.
Oh, I'm sorry, I totally wrong. Okay.
Is that a house?
So the,
It's not a house though, right?
Okay, so must have
That's
been
the
the early.
footprint?
A Dover Amendment home.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. The use would be a Dover Amendment qualifying use.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't
Educational
understand
facility.
that.
And which we actually think is appropriate in this location because there aren't really any immediate direct abutters. So it's fewer people to be inconvenienced or upset.
Explain, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
What is it?
A Dover Amendment use is is a whole variety of things which qualify. For instance, Jim's company has built homes which are serving residents who are rehabilitating from strokes. There are all sorts.
It's an educational home that
Yeah.
it's for people with disabilities. So
Okay.
I guess what he was insinuating by that, sometimes when we're building these in certain areas, there's a lot of handicap vans, alarms, that kind of stuff that kind of people tend to
Push back up.
Yeah, they hear the beeping of a van backing up.
So I think that's what he
at
meant by
1
it's kind of a
a.m.
nice location where there's noise and people can kind of come in and out and there's a little bit more of a level of care in this facility. So that's why it was so appealing at this location.
Which explains why you need more parking area than a
Right,
standard
that's
home.
right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yes.
Okay.
So you'll have the handicap vans, staff, shift change, visitors. People living there will have their families and whatnot come in, so, yeah.
Okay, all right, that explains a lot, thank you.
Yes.
I have no questions.
Okay, Diane?
Yeah, so that was interesting to understand right there. A question I would have is, once this place goes in, I mean, it is 17.5 acres or something like that.
Correct.
Are there then plans to, or thoughts to put in more structures? Or is this it for the 17 acres?
I would just say that the figure of 17 acres is a little deceiving in that, as indicated on the north side of this property, so much of this is wetlands. There's, as I think I said, there's frontage along Centec Boulevard, but except for a couple areas where there are detention basins, the wetlands get right up almost to that frontage. There's frontage at Fortune Boulevard, but again, there's a large detention basin serving Fortune Boulevard, and other than that, actually, there's a lot of wetlands. There may be other structures in the future, but this is not a site which, you're gonna see a subdivision road coming in and 32 lots or something. There's simply not room for that. Again, we did include the land plan, which shows the entirety of the site in the filing, but it's actually 3 24 by 36 sheets to show it all. I was actually debating putting it on this thing, but I couldn't show it on one sheet. So the short answer is that there is quite a bit of additional area. Much of it is encumbered by wetlands, but yes, there may be other development in the future. The other limitation I should just point out is, again, the easements that I mentioned. If there is a water line here at, say, elevation 440, that water line's probably 5+ feet down at 435 or 434. That water line's not going anywhere. Someone building on this land could fill a little bit over that, but they're not gonna cut. And the same is true of the sewer line. The sewer line may be, 6+ to 7 feet down, and it is there. And so, in addition to the wetlands kind of limiting things any more to the north, you have the easements running through this property, which are also a limitation. I mean, there is other land that is buildable remaining, but there's nowhere near 17.5 acres of land that anyone could build upon.
Okay, thank you very much.
Jason?
No questions.
Staff?
No, I don't think so. Did you submit for your stormwater permit?
We haven't yet.
Okay, that'll be my only question.
Yeah, so we have that to do. Again, we will be coming back because we don't have a file number assigned. Maybe in the interim, I think we were hoping we would have a file number assigned. We would have an order of conditions, and then we would file for a stormwater permit. We may, in the interim, file for the stormwater permit before the next meeting.
Actually, I guess, well, I got you unrelated, but what's happening to the property next door? The one you started?
They're moving in slowly.
Okay, 'cause it just seemed went.
Yeah,
just-
completed.
Well, I had you here, I was curious. So.
And they move in, so they have to transition people.
Okay, that's fine.
Slowly, it's not they can't just like.
Oh, it looked like it was still under construction, that's what we were asking.
Oh, no, so we completed the duplex is completed.
Okay.
And then the rest of the land, we still don't, where the garage was gonna go, we haven't started or don't have plans to start that right now.
I was curious.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I blame you, would ask to.
In process.
Alia?
So, why was this filed as a single-family home? It doesn't sound like it will be.
Legally, that's the category that
Okay.
these uses are described.
Sorry, you didn't elaborate. You had like a beautiful little narrative page and no elaboration on it not really being a single-family home.
We're so used to not
Too
wanting to
much,
talk about
To be honest, yeah, and they want.
in greater detail.
So when you're
about it.
doing them, we're told to obviously do it as a single-family home. It's, it is their it's their
Yes.
home.
Oh, yeah, no, I
Living
understand
here,
that,
and so it's-
it just doesn't, it will be.
I know, I get it.
Obviously more than a single, if I am a family unit, more than a single family
Right,
living there.
I know.
Okay, just that.
I get the confusion and
Yes,
yeah,
okay. Yeah, I wasn't
I
sure if it was a
understand.
category thing or if, okay.
No.
We figured that everyone would realize, as Martha, of course,
Yeah.
did, this is more
That-
parking
that
than
12
you
parking
usually have.
The
spaces
12
is a
parking
little much
spaces,
for,
I'm
for-
not sure if you showed
for three.
handicap.
Yeah.
Van parking and.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so it's.
And then also, so you said that this was delineated through 1902. But if I go to 1902, project, DEP file number 1902.
Okay.
If I go to file number 1902, it said it was delineated with project number, where did I just put that?
The old Centec.
1643, which goes back, because you had also done a cover sheet for that one, and you said it was delineated under, DEP file number 285-1643. So that goes significantly a little further back in time.
Sure.
than just,
I guess I was taking it that an order issued under file 1902 made that wetland boundary up to date as of that issuance.
It's only good for that issue. Once that order expires, it's not valid anymore.
Okay.
So.
and then that would that be three?
Is
Was
1902
1643
still-
open, or is,
I
who's
would
open
believe-
and who's?
I'm not sure if 1643 is the old subdivision or the Alltech Inc. off the top
Okay.
of my head. It could have
Okay.
been either.
Okay, yeah, I'm not sure, it just, it specifically says that it was delineated
Well,
for that one, but not for 1902.
We were
And
expecting.
now we're piggybacking
Oh, yeah.
twice, and that's just a lot of,
We were expecting as part of this to have the surveyor replace and rehang all the flags in sort of, I guess I'd say, the relevant area.
Okay.
Around this, all on the south side from numbers A149 up to, I guess, A171.
okay,
Would cover all of anything with it where we're possibly within the buffer zone, and we could do that obviously right away, and so you folks could take a look and see if there's anything that you want to contest that, A152 is now kind of not right.
yeah,
or-
in the middle of a puddle or something, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
So do you feel comfortable with reaffirming the flags that are there, or should we do something else with that? How old are they? I mean, are they?
Well, as I say, they're basically going back to two NOIs, hanging the hat on the ones that were
Let
done.
me see what year that was.
I think, through the chair, I think we're agreeing to re-hang these flags and have them checked by staff to see if they still think that they're accurate.
Yeah, so we'd have to have them peer reviewed.
All right.
Yeah.
So-
If you want to reflag them, then we can have them peer reviewed.
Okay.
Just those few that are
Fair enough.
relevant.
May I ask one more question? James, what is the preservation restriction that,
Oh, which, there's actually two. There's one around the pond,
yeah,
and there's one
that
around.
one?
When Mass Historical Commission came in, they looked at a couple things on site and there were a couple areas that we were absolutely puzzled as to why they thought there was any value. There's an area over here, there's a circle around, of a 40-foot diameter that looks like just a nondescript piece of slope. You'd be mystified as to what is special. They had one around the pond, because I guess the pond was at some point used for sort of harvesting ice. And they thought that was relevant as historical value. And there's around this because, and I think it's primarily because as you approach the culvert under Green Street, there's this odd sort of stair steps in the pond, almost as though somebody had set that up, and I'm not sure exactly why, but they looked at it and said, all right, this probably didn't happen naturally, and this is an interesting thing, and so they created an area with a sort of odd polygon around that wetland, including those stair steps. I think that was what they found value in.
Thanks.
There was another one with folders that actually was kind of.
strange.
All right. So we'll be continued, right?
So I think we have to ask to continue to your next meeting, October 17th. And we will get somebody out there to rehang the flags, everything that we'll work within buffer zone. And we will give you folks a shout as soon as that has been done. So you can-
Thank you, Board.
Thank you.
Mr. Polito, before we jump into voting on things, did you want to discuss the enforcement order issue?
Yes.
Okay. while not on your agenda, I have a bonus activity for you this evening. We issued an enforcement order to 280 South Quinsigamond Avenue. They were previously before us for the construction of Stoneland Road, just a couple months ago. And at that time, they were trying to stay under the 5,000 square foot limit so that they would not have to file a stormwater permit. But and this was not on any plans that were presented to us for construction, but someone notified us that a parking area had been installed in the property abutting Stoneland Road. So it seemed, and it's owned by the same.
Yeah, they own
humans.
both sides.
So, yeah, it's kind of just an interesting continuation of the.
And I went out there and shut them down. They said they were doing it for the gentleman who came in for the driveway paving.
So here's
it was
the-
like, it's not like he shouldn't have known.
Yeah, so, of course, he had just been in front of us so he should know where the wetland in that area is, because he's building next to it otherwise. And so this, in addition to not having been regulated in any way, shape, or form, puts them, if grouped with that Stoneland Road project, well over the 5,000 square foot buffer or stormwater requirement. So he also needs to file it with stormwater in addition to being out of order with us.
And they are, I believe, also parking on there now, too. So,
Is it common ownership, both lots?
Yeah.
There's no difference?
I mean, one's under an LLC, but when they came in, because that's a private right-of-way, they have to own both sides to do the work they wanted to do originally, so they did make inference that they own both sides.
So you said they were parking on this now. Have they continued to, they put the stone all down then? Okay, so after the cease and desist was given,
They
they
carried on.
did not cease or desist.
correct.
All right.
So they cut the trees down, they excavated, they put the border down, but the stone does not, it's all completed in the park.
Yeah, because it was like that one. I mean, I literally
Correct.
went out that same day and I told them to stop.
And then, so you can see the wetland, the low area behind that parking area, right there, pretty
And that's
pretty
the one,
close.
Yeah, that's the one that DEP issued the enforcement order when they cleaned the house swale out and put the stones in it.
Correct.
In the house behind it. So there's quite a history in this corner.
So it's not like they didn't know it was there.
Right.
They know it's there, and
And then 284, which is right down the road, 284 South Quinsigamond, we had just resolved that enforcement issue of them filling, and they have, they're now working to restore that area. So it should be pretty well known. Obviously, it's not the same owner, but it's pretty well known in the area that wetland exists and has been contested over the years, or has been
so the next
battled
step.
against.
The next step is we wait for them to respond, or is that what happens? Okay.
Yes.
Right.
So I sent a letter, oh God, when did I send it?
It was a week ago. Because it was off last Friday, wasn't it?
Yes, so last,
So you sent it you sent it
last
out
week at
Friday.
least,
I
yeah.
went out Thursday and you sent it out Friday, I believe.
Yes. And I have received their certified mailing card back, so they have received the piece of paper.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, thank you.
sure.
Your sign sheets?
Oh, I have,
All right, so we're gonna vote on some orders of conditions. We have one for 54 Cherry Street.
but I had, this one was.
Right, so, Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we issue an order of conditions for the construction of a patio area at 54 Cherry Street.
I second that.
So this was Cherry?
Yes.
Yes.
Any questions, discussion?
I did want to recommend to the commission that just a special condition be ensured that, good God, words, that the patio maintain that 15-foot distance from the buffer, just so there's no future discussion of where it should have been. Okay.
With the condition that the patio is 15 feet from the buffer, okay?
Yep, it's right there, people know.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Did we get Diane?
She's still there?
Aye.
Oh,
Okay.
Wake up.
We're almost done.
What is it? Oh, that's why, yeah.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we issue, wait, this is amend an order of conditions. So how do we do that?
I think you can just issue an amended order.
Okay, that we issue an amended order of conditions for 27 Bayview Drive for the construction of retaining walls, a patio area, deck, and fences, and the removal of select trees, with the condition that there be plantings of native shrubs against the shoreline retaining wall.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Did I get a second?
A second.
Oh, thank you. Okay. And, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we issue an order of conditions for 236 Gulf Street for the construction of a barn, tractor pathway, and lawn area.
Any discussion?
Second? Is there a second?
Second. Any discussion?
None.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Diane, can I get an aye? Thank you.
Not really, but okay. I'm still pretty puzzled by this point.
Sorry, by what?
By which one?
Which one?
The one we just voted on.
236 Gulf Street? That was the one with the pretty
Yep.
pavers, cobblestones.
The cobblestones.
Yeah, the cobblestones are great.
Yeah, their barn is in the middle of the 100-foot buffer, so they maintained a pretty decent buffer area.
That's right.
Yeah, they're pretty substantially distanced from the wetland.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Did we vote? We voted.
We
Yep.
voted on that.
Okay.
Yep, we did.
All right, Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we issue an order of conditions for no, I don't. Rescind that. For the construction of a single-family home and associated site work at Lot 1
I mean, I handed out.
High Street.
Correct.
Second.
So I believe with that,
Agreed.
we had
There's lots of conditions.
some boulders and
Should we be on?
fences and some sweet pepper bush and some high bush blueberries
Yes.
to be placed between wetland flag number 1 to wetland flag number 8.
Correct.
Yes. And
And they were gonna be double planted too.
1, 2,
Yes.
Yep.
3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6.
may I say that I'm still very uncomfortable that that structure is within the 30-foot boundary?
I would echo those comments.
Absolutely. Okay, do we,
But you voted to issue the order anyway?
Sorry?
We didn't vote it yet.
we're
Okay, just
gonna
checking.
vote now.
No, we didn't.
No.
All right, so it was moved and seconded, so all in favor? Aye.
I have 1 aye.
Opposed?
Opposed. I'm opposed.
I'm
You should get a
too.
vote on the opposing, so
So I have 3 opposing,
Yes.
1 aye. Okay.
Yes.
it did not pass. All right.
Vote. 1, 2, 3.
And it's just that, I mean, they met all of the requirements that were set forth. I mean, there's nothing we could have done couldn't done anything else.
Correct.
So they're gonna end up going to the DP,
Mhm.
and they're gonna get an order of conditions. We're gonna have no oversight over it. Okay?
Yeah, I mean, so the special conditions won't apply. Is the only caveat.
So am I understanding correctly that if it's a no vote on this, that essentially they no longer have to listen to anything that the Conservation Commission says?
Yeah, in essence, what happens, we would not issue the order of conditions, and they may well appeal it to DEP, and then basically DEP takes over, and they issue their own order of conditions. So typically then, any special conditions we would have would not get necessarily passed on.
And they could probably build it closer to the wetlands, and they could probably maybe build the garage, or put the patio where they wanted to put it. They could change some things around.
Oh, no, I think they can only approve what's been presented. I don't think they can change the design.
Yeah, they can't?
No, they would appeal what
Right.
was before us, so.
Right.
So
They would have to
the
refile.
recent reiteration with the little line of blueberry bushes,
Yep.
the fences in place, the boulders in place, the patio moved, unless that's what we voted on. So that's what they can appeal.
So basically, anything that's not shown on the plan would not get added.
Right.
DEP may or may not.
They may not, because, our bylaw has literally just been approved, so they may say, well,
In a
you're close enough.
in a couple more.
That it's
in a couple-
grandfathered.
Oh, no, the
I-
bylaw was approved.
Oh, the bylaw
It was
was
approved by the
approved, yes.
Attorney General last week. So,
But this was submitted before the
it was
bylaw
submitted before that, but,
was, yeah.
they may say, well, we don't know. But
Yeah.
historically, they used to side more often than they do now, so, but we won't know. And they're 60 to 90 days out on even getting to appeals at this point, so they're gonna be waiting.
Also, yeah, it's still a process to go through. So
And
there's
as you know,
even
we'll
more
have to
permitting to go through the appeal processing, so.
Yes.
And we'll have to site visit, so,
Could be a
as you know,
slight
the
deterrent.
process.
Okay, moving right along.
So I have 6 OOCs in total.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I move that we issue an order of conditions for the construction of 2 fishing platforms and pre-placement of a parking lot and section of walking path at 32 Ridgeland Road, otherwise known as Jordan Pond.
Second.
Any discussion?
None for me.
Don't remember any conditions.
No, I didn't have any.
Okay.
All in favor?
I believe so.
Aye.
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 And Mr. Chair, I move, that we issue an order of conditions for the construction of a single-family home with paved drive, grading, infiltration, and utility connections to town utilities at 7 Flanagan Drive.
We have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
None.
I can't remember if we had any.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 The RDAs, we got 3 RDAs.
Yes,
Yep. And then it's just-
sorry.
Just got 3 RDAs to sign too, please.
Okay, so that takes care of, I believe, everything, correct?
Yes.
Everything else has been continued?
Yep. Any COCs?
Yes, I will have just
What was
2 COCs to issue.
Oh, just 2? Okay.
3, I'm sorry, 3 COCs.
they've got 3 printed out,
Yes,
so,
yes, you
right.
do have 3 printouts. Sorry, I forgot to check mark one of my options. Would you like me to chat while you sign?
Absolutely.
You walk and talk? So the first certificate of compliance to be issued tonight is 316 Boston Turnpike. This was like a power facility. They just did borings, I think, for this NOI, and they have revegetated themselves. It seemed pretty straightforward. And it's just one of those those tracks in the woods that are electric.
Mm-hmm.
One of those. And it's off, it's just like connected to a power plant or like a power station. Yeah, power station. That sounds right, more correct.
Words.
Yes, words are, they're gone.
All right, so
So it's revegetated, it looks great. I think that one can be issued. The next one is 650 South Street. That was for the construction of a pool. The pool has been constructed. It is well enclosed with retaining walls and fences and things that will not allow it to creep into the buffer zone of the wetland, so it's happy. And then my last one is 54 Lakeside Drive. That one was for the construction of a porch. They have a beautifully landscaped hillside. It is like really well vegetated with natural vegetation. Loved it. And yeah, so they're selling the house, so hopefully the future homeowner will also maintain such a lovely stabilized hillside with some native vegetation. I did want to note the last one, 197 Spring Street. I visited today to see if it could be closed, but the lawn area needs to be stabilized. It's with all the rain this year, they were trying to seed it, and it has not worked. They also built a chicken coop. That was not on the plans. I have a picture of where the chicken coop is actually. So you guys can make, I guess whatever decision you'd like to do with.
Where's 197?
That's what I was just trying to
Oh,
picture.
maybe I looked it up there. That's silly. I can throw it on online because we're not going to be closing it tonight, but, or maybe I put it in the folder for, let me see if I, sorry.
Extension?
That will be up next.
Okay, do you have the form for it? I don't see.
Oh, maybe not.
I'll print it out while you talk, or while you do the bylaw.
So yeah, you can see that it's obviously not stabilized yet. I haven't added the surveyed plan with the chicken coop, but you can see it on the edge of the property. So I don't know.
How big's
Is
that
that on
chicken
a
coop?
pad?
It's a really, really, it's probably the nicest chicken coop I've seen.
Yeah, to Martha's question, is that on a concrete pad?
I think so. So it is surrounded by, they just put some pavers down, so, but it does look,
Okay.
sorry.
Okay.
It does look like that it is on a little pad, underneath it.
And that's within the buffer zone?
How big is it?
It's a pretty good sized chicken coop.
Well, they're
I
probably
could,
all-
it's a tiny house sized chicken coop.
I mean, I guess they're probably 12-inch pavers, so.
Well,
Yeah,
that can't-
yeah, they are 12-inch
Yeah,
pavers.
so it's probably,
So they probably need to move it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't give them a certificate if that's there, right?
No.
Yeah.
No.
It is a nice chicken coop.
It was really nice. So my minimum discussion was that he'd planned to put where I'm standing in this photo, he'd planned to put a vegetable garden, with like raised beds, and I said, no, that needs to be vegetated,
Yeah, that needs,
vegetatively.
yeah, he's gonna have to move that.
Native, natural vegetation, not, vegetables.
Right, that can't stay, he's gonna have to move that.
Yep.
Okay,
Or come in and, I mean, that's a disturbance now, right?
yeah.
He should tell us what he's gonna do. He should come in and tell us what they're gonna do, and where they're gonna put it, and have a plan, and
Okay.
whole 9 yards.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got an extensive yard area. I don't know why they're not using more of the yard area behind the home, because it is,
Yep.
let me get through my pile of dirt photos. Maybe not, but it's a pretty good sized yard outside of that, so he can scooch his chickens.
Okay.
Okay, onward and forward to our extension permit for 440 and 526 Hartford Turnpike. They have, what, it's just acquired new ownership, or recently-ish?
So Wynn does own the site now. They have been in the picture, I think, since, I want to say 2021, kind of retooling the site, making it work and getting the funding from the state. We've had our initial site walk with the town departments, conservation engineering was there. And our order of conditions is set to expire, I think, in January of this year, once you account for all the permanent tooling, so we just wanted to get ahead of it and extend it now. I think construction's anticipated to last about 18 months once we get going.
So yeah, we had wanted to, we had recommended an extension in case any major construction changes come up in the, what, sorry?
Is that the extension permit? Are we signing it?
Yes, yeah, I would recommend you sign it. I did want to note that they had asked that, so the erosion control proposed in the original NOI filing was straw wattles and silt fence. They were going to find it easier to use compost socks and silt fence. Is that a okay change of plans for them? I asked that they include that in the as-built.
Do you have any insights on those?
I had no.
Oh, so you're gonna
sorry.
recuse yourself? Okay.
Okay.
Well, we only need 3 signatures, so. Yeah, they're the same. Just compost lasts a little longer, that's all.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the same
Which,
principle.
yeah, if construction is going for 18 months, yeah.
I'm
They
recusing
will-
myself from this, by the way, for the
Okay,
record.
Cape Polito.
Put your hands over your ears. I'm sorry, it's late. I think I'm punchy.
You're the only one. Oh, just one more thing, we can go.
All right, we have one more thing to do.
Just
We
one
really
little-
wanna do
One
this.
more
One little thing.
We want to get this one done tonight.
All right, so we'll review and vote
for you
on
to
the
sit through.
Shrewsbury Conservation Rules and Regulations.
Yes, so the AG, I talked to the clerk, and he did, basically approve it last Thursday, so the bylaw now is in effect as of last Thursday. She, what did I say?
He.
That's what I say, it's punch drunk, sorry, Karen. Well, the Attorney General is what I was thinking, but she's a she, you're right, sorry. My apologies, if they're watching. So then really, the only other piece of it is the rules and regulations that goes with it, so we need you to vote and approve to adopt those, and then we just need to advertise them, and at this point, everything after last Thursday has to meet the bylaw.
All right, so do we have a motion to approve the Shrewsbury Conservation Rules and Regulations?
Mr. Chair, I would be delighted to make a motion to approve the Shrewsbury Conservation Rules and Regulations.
I would be delighted to second.
Do we have any discussion? I would just like to thank everybody here and prior for all their work in getting this done, and yeah, I think it's going to be great. It's going to help a lot with different things. So, that being said, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
No opposed, yay.
Hope not.
All right, anything else to become before the board?
That's it.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
I second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.